Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to what's normally the Xbox Factor podcast. I have changed things up a bit because we have unfortunate breaking news in Xbox land, and it's not good. Welcome, everyone. I already see there are nearly 300 people almost here, almost 300 people here watching live. That's bonkers, and that is because this is pretty big breaking news, and it sucks. Well, we're gonna get into introductions. The panel is probably going to grow a little bit. I think everyone's gonna want to drop their bars. FYI, PG-13 rating has been removed for this show. There is going to be some adult conversation. There may be a curse or three. One from me as the host because I'm pretty pissed off right now. Um, there's no defending this. This is one of the biggest blunders in 2024 for Microsoft. Yesterday on the Xbox lunch break special, I called Sony's, move to force everyone to open up a PSN account the biggest blunder, and at least they had walked that back by saying, "Hey, listen, we love money, and we're bleeding at the seams, so we're not going to do that anymore." At least they course corrected. I don't see a way forward for Microsoft on this. We're going to get into the actual specific details, but before we do, let's welcome in the panel the elusive gamer, aka Jamie Moran, who is consistently hunted by the escapees of Arkham. How you feeling, brother? Welcome.
I'm good. I mean, like we were talking about in the pre-show, I literally just found out about this whole ZeniMax stuff about 10 minutes ago. So, um, yeah, conflicted is a word I'll use. I know, Boom, you said you may swear, but considering I'm British, I don't think you want my kind of swearing on your channel, so I'll keep it down.
Listen, this is one of those things, folks. Like I said, you got the warning up front. There's going to be some adult conversation here. There's a lot to be upset about. It's just one of those moments in gaming where we once again revert to what we like to call the rake stepping that Microsoft consistently does as a corporation and my Xbox does as a platform. There is nothing nice to say here. And there's going to be some honest talk. Like I said, I'm not going to go on a rant where there's going to be F bombs left, right, and center because that's not the kind of content we have. But if one slips out, well, excuse the panel because at least we're being honest and we're not trying to cover up or bot out, if you will, for the corporation. But Jamie, please continue.
Yeah, no, it's just it's a weird time because Microsoft, like, they have such a good roadmap ahead for the year, and they still somehow manage to mess it up.
Yeah.
And like, by the way, before we get into all this, this isn't going to be one of those things where I'm going to be like, what's the term, turncoat or whatever. I don't think like this is a turning point for Xbox. It's just a really bad move at a really bad time,
Yeah.
especially when they have, their first AAA game is about to launch in 2 weeks. They have their summer showcase in a month, and then they drop this like eh, very bad timing, but it's very on brand for Microsoft over the past few years.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's again, it's just it's rake stepping at 101 at its finest. We'll come back to you, Jamie. Because we're gonna open up with what you have to say. Infinite Umbra or Melancholy Umbra. What's up, brother? Again, not the kind of news, certainly, again, folks, if you would have saw, well, you'll probably see, because by week's end, I'll re-earth the topics that I wrote up for this show. They were so exciting. They were filled with life and lots of positivity, 4 banger topics. And the minute I saw this on the way home this morning, I honestly was a bit out of a loss. I mean, I'm not gonna cry, but I mean, it's just dumb. It's just one of those moves that I don't get it. I don't get it. And you know what worries me is when you see moves like this, you kind of wonder if the evil corporation known as Microsoft from the 90s is starting to kind of creep back a little bit. And I don't know if it's going to happen. I mean, Xbox is still my brand, but you rest assured they're getting the smoke today. How you feeling, brother?
Oh man, melancholy as you said it. It's I wasn't even aware of this until I was talking to that Blue number, and she told me about it, and I went to go check up on Twitter because I was just at home, got home, and I was just sitting around, and I finally got off Twitter. Usually I'm stuck to the damn thing, but yeah, she told me about it. I went to go check, and I'm like, come on, man. Now, I guess we're not going to get into it just yet. I don't want to say everything yet, but
oh no, you're going to have an opportunity to speak your bars with no time limit. Because, like I said, I think this panel is going to grow. I reached out to Hargeet and a few other people. If you are someone that wants, even if you got, listen, folks, if you got 5, you got 10 minutes, you've worked with me before. Obviously, I need to vet. I can't just let anybody on the show because obviously, you got to vet people correctly. Anyone that I worked with before, you want to jump on, you got 5 or 10 minutes, and you want to kind of give your, speak your piece. This is the space for it, because obviously everyone's going to have a lot to say. I am unhinged on what I have to say, but
I just feel like this doesn't at all like instill any faith.
Absolutely.
We keep hearing these types of layoffs, and we haven't even. It took like my brother Slow-Mo Backslap had posted, and I didn't really think about it until he said, and it was like we've had more studio closures from Microsoft this year than even game releases. Like, come on.
He's
and then they put the controller out. Oh, get the new orange, whatever they call this dang thing, the Vapor Special Edition Fire Vapor controller. What is it? Feel the burn today.
Oh yeah, there's a burn being felt. All right. Yeah.
Well, when the controllers sell and people aren't buying the games, I guess that's what the problem is, right?
That is the problem, isn't it? But that's double what I said, because I said this does not instill faith in Xbox, but it also like destroys faith in games as a service, because now it's telling us more and more that feels like that whole unsustainable thing is starting to feel like the truth. It really does make you shake the foundation a bit. I guess I'll wait on it until we get into the topic so you can get us all introduced.
Yeah, we'll come back around. I mean, like I said, everyone's going to have an opportunity. I have quotes from many people in the industry that I wanna put out there that are not just attacking the situation, literally having adult-like opinions, and I'd like to share that with everyone who doesn't have the time to scroll through social media like I do for these shows. But Steel Rain, we did not expect you to be here, brother, but you are here. We welcome again some rake stepping stuff. Microsoft, man, they just know how to muck it up, so to speak.
I mean, I think it's a rake step as far as the words that have been put out there, as far as being able to support some of these studios with bringing them on. But I'm probably going to be on the adverse side, because again, these games have not done what y'all think that they have done. And
no, you're
correct. If developers can't produce what they're looking for, then they need to be moved around. So again, there's no excuse for it. I'm not going to excuse Microsoft for it. Again, your word is your word. The things that you have said, people can take and break down and have their issues with. But I definitely think I'm going to be on the probably a little bit on the opposite side, because again, that's just my perspective. Hey, appreciate everybody being here, chat, seeing y'all getting lit already. And as Mr. Live Raw cut himself, Steel Rain, I'm ready to bring that rain today. So let's get to it, man.
Well, listen, the one thing I love about you as a creator is that you don't do stuff for flash in the pan.
No.
And that is the one thing. If you don't know who Steel Rain is, you probably should sub his channel. He's one of the realest dudes out there. He wears it on his sleeve. He's unapologetic, but he's also doesn't insult to be a D. You know what I'm saying? He gives you the live, raw, and uncut opinions, and maybe you don't agree with them, but at least he's being honest. And I cannot wait to hear what he has to say, because, like I said, the whole point of these shows are not to be a bunch of yes people, because obviously sometimes we have women on the show as well. Not so much today, but listen, you never know who's going to come rolling through. Crazy Lou Gaming. Welcome, brother. Unfortunately, this is a bit of a somber day for Xbox. A total of 4 studio closures, where 3 are closed indefinitely. 1 is being merged. We will get those details momentarily. Again, we got some big quotes from many people in the industry that I find to be some are very pointed, some are being human, which is what I love, and others are just kind of taking a shot, which is something that they're known for. We'll get into who said what momentarily, but Crazy Lou Gaming, good morning, or well, good afternoon. How you feeling?
Man, Mr. BoomStick, I came this morning to my channel, doing my good morning video right on my channel, bringing us some positive news, and this thing just hit right there. I just couldn't talk about everything that was going on positive. I was going to talk about Lords of the Fallen that this afternoon, because I gotta say this. I'm hyped for this game. Killer Clowns are going to show gameplay this afternoon on Twitch. I was going to talk about it, but this news just came in there and just smacked me in the face. And man, we got to get into it because I got a lot of stuff to say, which I said this morning, but I got a lot more now to say out of my gut.
Yeah, we're going to get into it. So let me pull some of the quotes that I have in front of me. The first one is the one I refer to being human. And that is, let me get exactly his title. It's Dinga Bakaba. He is the studio / co-creative director of Arkane Lyon, in France. He is currently heading over Blade. He's worked on Deathloop and Dishonored, and he gave a pretty phenomenal quote. And he says this, ladies and gentlemen: "This is absolutely terrible. Permission to be human. To any executive reading this, friendly reminder that video games are an entertainment / cultural industry, and your business as a corporation is to take care of your artists, entertainers, and help them create value for you."
Mm-hmm.
He goes on to say, "Don't throw us into gold fever gambits. Don't use us as straw men for miscalculations or blind spots. Don't make our work environments drawnwist jungles. You say we make you proud when we make a good game. Make us proud when times are tough. We know you can, and we've seen it before." And now, obviously, he goes on. He has about 5 more posts after this, and obviously, he's emotional. He obviously has friends and colleagues at one of the studios that were closed. So before we bring in everyone here and we start getting opinions, because again, this is going to be one of those shows that is going to have a lot of angles. It is going to have a lot of pointed opinions, and everyone is entitled to give their hot take, no matter whether it's 5 minutes or 15. So get ready. But I pulled a quote from Clobriel, who obviously was on this first. Now, I've seen stuff from Tom Warren. I have. Jez Corden is a part of that conversation. I've seen a bunch of people putting stuff out there to obviously get the word out. Obviously, it's a big story. It is probably one of the worst stories we've had in a while for Microsoft. I mean, again, depending on who you ask, worst story, 4 games going over to PlayStation and Switch. Maybe that's the worst thing for you. I don't like it, but I get the business. This, to me, is a travesty of justice. But this is what Clobriel had to say. "Microsoft is closing Tango Gameworks, Alpha Dog Studios, Arkane Studios Austin, Roundhouse Studios is getting merged with ZeniMax Online," and he simply says, "I'm devastated." I'm going to go first here to Jamie. Jamie, look, this is one of those situations where timing is everything. And I think that this could not be a worse time to announce 4 studio closures, 3 of which are gone forever. 1 is being merged into another. That is a lot of people that are going to be without jobs, because none of the stories that I have read so far suggest that there's going to be, people moving around, or there's going to be people opening arms. For instance, the Hi-Fi Rush lead dev, Joannis. Where is that guy going? Because if he's not with Microsoft, wow, you guys are stupid. I'm
To
going
be
to tell you that
fair,
right.
we
What's
don't
that?
have information. To be fair, we don't have information clarifying either way.
Well, no,
we don't know if they're
don't.
being let go, and we don't
Right.
know if they're getting folded in. So right now, all we can do is speculate.
Which is exactly what we're going to do. Because again, I have to take it at face value. When I hear studio closures, I don't think that people have parachutes. I think that it's a studio closure until I'm proven wrong. So I'm going to go and I'm going to throw caution to the wind and be like, you know what? I'm worried about the people, which is what we should be worried about, not the games. These are people that make the games. 3 studios closed altogether. What the studio that's merged, they still have a job. The 3 studios that closed altogether, well, I don't know because no one's talking. So until someone clarifies it for me, and Steele, you're 1,000% right, my brother. Thank you so much for the clarification. We don't honestly know, but again, I'm going to throw caution to the wind and say that I'm more concerned about the people because we don't know if they're going to go anywhere. But that is a phenomenal point, brother. Thank you so much for the 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 course correction on that. Look, in 2 weeks from today, Hellblade 2 is supposed to come out. Right now, as Xbox fans, we're supposed to be in a celebratory kind of mood, right? We're supposed to be getting excited because a big game, one of the biggest games for Xbox this year, is launching in 2 weeks. You know what happens a little bit 2 weeks after that? One of the biggest shows in Xbox history that Xbox gamers like me, like Steele, like Crazy Lou, and Umbra and Jamie, and everyone in this chat, we're supposed to be getting excited for, right? We're supposed to be throwing a giant block party because hey, Xbox is coming to town and they're going to have wares from here to there to everywhere. The timing of this could not be any worse. Just when they are about to cross the finish line, their shoelace opens up and they trip and someone runs past them and wins a race. Like I don't know. I don't know what else to say other than this is ridiculous. Jamie, let's get your hot take on this, man.
It's crazy because this year has been a roller coaster for not just Xbox but for Xbox fans. If people remember February and January, it wasn't pretty online. And that was all off speculation, and people were like, calm down and stuff. And over the past, I'd say 2 months, people have had time to sort of calm down, take everything in, and just relax. And even though you do have the occasional person losing the marbles on Twitter over nothing, this is something, And like the big thing for me today is that they closed down their only Japanese studio.
Yep.
Which is huge. And, there were rumors that they were making a JRPG, which I was like, going nuts over. And it's awful news. Hopefully everyone there lands on their feet. But, obviously we'll get news later on if, any more mergers or anything's happening. But it's unfortunate because Microsoft, they, like, if people have been following me or know me, I'm a huge supporter of the Xbox brand, the games, everything Xbox. And the truth is like, as much as I love the games and stuff, Xbox has this amazing habit of putting the foot in the mouth at any opportunity. I just saw an advertisement for an IGN interview that's going to happen the day after the E3 showcase or summer showcase between Phil Spencer and someone from IGN. I don't like all the interviews. I don't like because by the way, I guarantee that interview is going to have a lot of questions that aren't about the games shown regarding the Xbox. They're going to be about, are these games also going to PlayStation down the road? But that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah,
it's another unfortunate story that's hitting Xbox again. And as someone that covers Xbox daily, literally daily, it happens all the time. Like, do fans have a lot to look forward to this year? Yes, games, features, all that stuff, nice stuff, right? But it's these stories that happen, and it's not just an Xbox specific thing. Like the industry as a whole, developers are being laid off left and right, studios are being closed down, games are being cancelled. The cost of these games have gone up, and those studios that have been closed down, Alpha Dog, I think they made Elder Scrolls Blades. That didn't do well as far as I know. So
Right.
I completely understand that. Tango Gameworks is the one that doesn't make sense to me, unless maybe Ghostwire Tokyo. I'm looking at online right now. Ghostwire Tokyo has 6 million players, but that's not sales. And that was a big new IP. It was PlayStation exclusive for like a year. And, you know, Redfall was a huge, huge failure last year, not just commercially, but critically. And like a lot of fans were looking forward to that game. I was looking forward to that game. And just the way the launch happened, you know, because we had 2 years this generation where almost every single game was 60 frames per second. But the second we start hearing about these other games being 30, you know, Gotham Knights, a few other games, you know, the game with the rats, I forgot its name. But like, and like, and like Redfall was this other game, but with it being a first-person shooter and it being a first-party Xbox game, people were like, why isn't it 60? And people just like people told me all the time, I'm not buying it because it's not 60. And the reason I didn't get into it is because it was advertised as an immersive sim, but it wasn't, you know. But all that aside, like it's just really stupidly unfortunate news to drop. Like if this news drops like in August or something, like after the summer showcase happened, after the roadmap begins with, you know, Hellblade in 2 weeks, I think it wouldn't have been as bad a news as it is, even though, you know, people are being laid off. But it's I'm speechless. Like boom, you heard before the show started. I found out a minute before we start talking.
Yeah, you and Umbra found out literally right before we went live. Steele had known about it, I think, as well as me. I had known about it the minute it dropped. I got like 19 DMs. It was crazy, and I'm like, "Whoa, what's happening?" And yeah, well, here we are.
Yeah, and like, well, is this like I'm already seeing these doom and gloom, you know, spaces on Twitter, which if people want to listen to those 7 or 8 hour spaces ran by those arseats, I don't know why people do that. But like Microsoft, they need to. Messaging has been the worst thing for Microsoft ever. The messaging, timing, like there's a new controller that's just been announced called Feel the Burn. Like that's not appropriate. That's not appropriate today. They could have marketed that controller next week, a month from now. It's a controller. Nobody cares. Put a tweet out, but like putting that out right after these are announced, and it's just. It's really unfortunate. Like Microsoft's going to be fine, Xbox is going to be fine, the fans are going to be fine, but it's just really sucky, unfortunate news dropping at the worst time when Microsoft they needed a pick me up. They needed a pick me up for the fans because all you have to do is open up Twitter and see the hellscape of people acting like it's the end of the world, no matter what Microsoft does, and then this happens. Well, congratulations, Microsoft. We're going to have another week of this online. and I'm on Twitter every day. I don't like this. I don't like the fact that I have to open up a Twitter hellscape every day. But here I am. I have to deal with this. And like I just saying in chat, Twitter's not real life. No, it's not real life. However, Microsoft is something I cover, and it's something I have to deal with. Yep. And like as a fan, I don't like the fact that Microsoft does this, has like a negative move or something negative happens every few weeks or every few months. Like PlayStation, they do this thing where they don't answer interviews. They don't do interviews all the time. PlayStation, they are very quiet. They're not very, very transparent. And that actually works in a lot of their favor because there's not really much to complain about other than the fact that they don't have a lineup. Outside of that, everything's fine. On Microsoft's side, they have this great lineup of fantastic games I'm sure everyone's going to love. And there's games that are going to be announced at the showcase, which also launches this year, which is really cool. But it's just really unfortunate news at the worst time.
Yeah, it just, again, I'm sorry. I'm usually very, very pointed and I have a lot to say. And like I will, but I'm, you know, I'm getting my sea legs here, so to speak. Steele, one of the most pointed gentlemen in the gaming creation space is you, and that's what we love you. So I want to read a tweet here. This is a bit of a shot. It's a deserving shot. Someone that has not had or thinks of Microsoft in the best way possible. That is, let me see. CEO and creative director of Moon Game Studios. Obviously, you know who he is. It's Thomas Mahler. He is also, he wears it on his sleeve, so to speak. And he said this. Now, I think this is an unnecessary shot personally, but he's not wrong. Steele. He says, to everyone who's been pestering me for years about why we didn't allow Moon Studios to get acquired by a big publisher, well, that's why. I lived through the 90s and saw what happened when smaller studios got acquired by EA. Never again. And I guess he tags Jason Schreier. Oh, good for him. If they're friends, well, you can tell because they're both D's. Sorry. But Steele, let's get your point to take, because I think I know where you're going, but I am not here to speak for you. This is your time to shine, brother. And you obviously have a different mindset. I'm interested to hear it, brother. Talk about it.
Shout out to Raiden Blade who put this in chat. And it kind of summarizes some of what I'm going to get into. He said, none of these studios have made a profit before Xbox bought them before 3 years before. Until they come clear, why can't Xbox get their messaging right? And I think that's the biggest thing, right? It's going to come right back down to messaging. And I think that is the thing that we should focus on here versus everything else around it. Mainly because I think that this would have happened regardless whether Bethesda got acquired or not, because Bethesda wouldn't have been able to uphold these studios by themselves. That's a guarantee. So if it wasn't still able to be sustained being under Microsoft, if the numbers of Hi-Fi Rush going to PlayStation, the engagement didn't hit the numbers that they were looking for, then guess what happens? Again, like, I understand that there's people who are passionate about these devs, about these studios. At the end of the day, gaming is a business. Yes, it's fun for us, and I get that. And yes, you should be critical of Xbox for, again, having their messaging come across as if they were going to be the Superman in this situation. Superman can't save everybody. That's one of the biggest realizations he ends up having. Yep. He can't save everybody. Spider-Man can't save everybody. It only made them better in the long run. Now, will it happen in this situation? I don't know. I'm not going to cap, as people say, for the big corporation, because Microsoft is $1 trillion business. But at the end of the day, as some people say, this does give more credence to the people who say, well, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. Hey, what about Game Pass? I thought Game Pass was supposed to be this great thing. And Game Pass is a vehicle for these types of games and should have been something for these types of games, but there's not enough people in Game Pass to sustain currently the types of games that people like. Dishonored, a new Dishonored could have came out and it wouldn't have been this grandiose thing. Ghostwire Tokyo, and sure, it's a new IP, and to Jamie's point, yeah, it did decently. It didn't do the greatest on PlayStation, and obviously didn't do the greatest when it came to Xbox. That is something that you have to look at the developer about. Why didn't it reach more people? Not just Xbox. I thought games were also supposed to speak for themselves. These games aren't speaking for themselves. For months, for a year, I've heard people nonstop talk about how good Hi-Fi Rush is. Why aren't the kids picking it up? You have grown-ass folks that are talking about, man, Hi-Fi Rush is great. You got me over here, man, I'm a combat dude. I think Hi-Fi Rush is great. I played Hi-Fi Rush halfway through and I lost my want to continue to play it. Look, there's so many other things that are layered on top of this. It is so easy to say, oh, well, Microsoft, I'm going to slap you upside the head. Again, you're not doing things right. Oh, man, the controller. Oh, man, all these other things. I need to be negative about what is happening right now. And again, I definitely hear that and I understand that, the perspective, and I'm very interested to hear everybody's opinions and thoughts on this. But for me, as somebody that was extremely unaware of Arkane Austin or just Arkane in totality, it doesn't matter what game that you put on the table. They're not recognizable games by the wider audience. It is niche. I go back to Armored Core as an example. Armored Core 6, I'm happy that that game did as well as it did, even if people say, oh, well, 3 million copies isn't good enough still. Well, previously, the IP only sold 600,000 copies. So 3 million on an IP that went away for 10 years, I think is pretty significant. But 6 million people engaging, 3 million people engaging, 1 million people engaging in a game from a studio that has been putting out games. Mind you, Redfall is not a game that you can blame Microsoft for.
No.
That is Bethesda. That is Arkane Austin. So blame them for their studio closure. I don't care about ZeniMax and all this. Blame them. And yes, at the time it was on Bethesda hey, we need to get a game out. We need something that's going to be live service. It's really going to be able to pitch to the people. It did not work. Again, if you don't have the right cooks in the kitchen, then they don't need to be making my meal. After this most recent game, why would I want them to make another game? No, y'all need to be folded into Fallout 5. Y'all need to be folded into Obsidian. Y'all now need to be put in other places where your talents are going to be able to be used in a much more efficient manner. Because right now, it doesn't seem like y'all got it by yourself. So my question for everybody is, what do we want? You want Xbox, Microsoft, a business. Because at the end of the day, I don't care how you pitch this to me. Gaming is a business. As much fun as you have with it, there is still a reality to it. As a consumer, again, I'm not going to excuse Microsoft for it because it is, at the end of the day, messaging. But my question is, do you just throw money at a problem and just hope that it gets fixed? Or do you fix the problem? Do you want Microsoft to also walk back on, hey, well, we're going to give these guys some space. Oh, but now we're not going to give them any space. We're just going to tell them exactly what they want to do at all times. I can't put 100% of the onus on Xbox or Microsoft for this. This is something that was going to happen anyway. And Bethesda and ZeniMax were hoping that Microsoft was going to be able to save them. That's not a good plan or strategy in any business. It's just like Lars from Embracer. Oh yeah, I'm waiting on $100 million Saudi deal. Oh man, yeah, that's going to go through. Really? That's what we're depending on in business now? But for me, I also understand that I may be a bit attached. Although I'm a hardcore gamer, I'm an enthusiast. There's a lot. I stand for gaming. This is my passion. I love it. But there's also reality to it. The business side to it. And not all games can just go on forever and be made just because. As great as y'all might feel Hi-Fi Rush was, it was not enough. Redfall was beyond not enough.
Yeah.
Why would you want additional content from that? Just because the studio promised it? It took them almost a year to get a 60 frame patch out. Are y'all serious right now? I thought we wanted quality from Xbox, not quantity. What are we truly asking for? Do we want Blade sooner? Right? There are games that need to be worked on that are higher on the priority list than some of these other games that they were going to end up greenlighting. Dishonored 3, Prey 2, these games are Hi-Fi Rush 2. It would not have made sense. So that's why I'm more so on the fence. No, we don't know what's truly happening. Yes, we are also in a very tumultuous time. There has been more people released from the gaming industry than ever before, and it's just the beginning of the year. That is messed up.
Yeah, it is.
That is crazy to think about.
They had more in the first 60 days than they had all of last year. A lot of people don't know that, and that is a trend that unfortunately is trending, and that is a scary disposition for anyone who is in gaming development right now or even considering it. If you're in school and you're like, that's what I want to do, I don't know.
It doesn't become a true reality for you because you're like, well, I don't know if my job is going to have a longevity in it. Again, prior, most people don't stay in the gaming industry more than 3 to 5 years because they get burnt out. It's become even worse because of what consumer greed, our expectations, and also the type of money that's being spent in the industry right now. Even if Microsoft has to let go of developers that you guys are passionate about, that you feel like should continue to make their style of games, then what does that speak for the rest of the industry? Because I don't believe that this goes under, like Microsoft was just looking at the numbers like, yeah, you know what? I know we're making a ton of money, but yeah, we're just going to let them go just because. What are you going to say, Umber? Go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, I hear you, but I'm really not trying to hear any of that. And I say that because you're speaking from a perspective of the company. I get it. You're not wrong.
I'm not speaking. No. I want
Hold
to
on,
correct
let me
you on that.
finish.
I want
Let me
to no,
finish.
because you're already going to start off on the bad foot.
You're talking
You can't say that
specifically
I'm
from them, right?
speaking.
You're saying
No,
this
I'm
has to
speaking
make
from
sense for them.
I'm speaking from my opinion.
But you're
I'm not
speaking
spe-
from.
I
you're
clarified
speaking from the
multiple times that I'm not
perspective.
speaking
Hold on,
from
let
the
me finish
perspective
my
of the
words.
company.
Really, I'm
No,
saying
because
you're
you're twisting
speaking
my
from the
words.
perspective of the company and
You're
saying
twisting
it
my
doesn't make
words.
money for them, right?
You're twisting
Okay,
my words.
so can I finish this word and you can say what you got to say?
Because you
So
already started on a bad foot.
I'm
You
asking
can't-
you the
Come
question.
on,
so you
gentlemen.
can
Let's
answer me.
let him finish, and then to Steele, you jump back in and obviously make a rebuttal.
So I was trying to ask you is you're saying that this doesn't make sense for the company as far as they haven't brought in value to them. So it makes sense for them to let them go. Is that what you were saying, right?
Objectively, yeah.
Okay. So I was
But
saying
also
exactly what you just said.
consumer-wise as well.
Okay. Okay. I just said a second ago, you were speaking from the perspective of the company. That's exactly what you were just doing. So I'm
Now,
not trying to
speaking of
be
perspective of the
argumentative.
consumer
I'm
as
just
well.
saying that's what you're saying. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying as a consumer, I'm looking at it from a different perspective, right? So this
okay.
is not me trying to argue with you. This is me trying to
But
say
you
I
also
get what
interrupted
you're
me.
saying.
Well, I'll give you a chance. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not trying to argue with you because I get what you're saying. You're not wrong. I'm saying I don't want to hear it because I'm looking at it from a different perspective as a consumer. As the consumer, absolutely, this is a problem. And if we go by what you're saying here, and just from their perspective as a company, multi-trillion-dollar company, mind you, Microsoft is probably valued at what, 3 trillion, 4 trillion now?
Yeah, 3 trillion for sure.
3 trillion
They're,
and some change.
they may be hovering around the 3 trillion line, a pinch under or a pinch above.
So this is my problem here. If we're going by this, and where you were pointing out that all of these studios they get burnt out and all that, a lot of these things are becoming, because of. By the way, were you actually finished? Because maybe I can let you finish your points before I actually.
I thought you were going to make a quick point, but I mean,
No, go ahead, I'll wait.
You already started with that you don't want to hear that you can't hear my point.
Not you specifically. I'm saying I don't want to hear that from their perspective.
Yeah,
that's what I wanted.
That's where it got twisted. I don't think he meant you per se. Steele.
When you pose it like the way that you started with, it comes across as if you're attacking my point.
That's why I'm saying you're right. That's why I'm saying you're right for sure. Gotcha. I'm just saying I don't want to hear it as a consumer. Not
and I get
that you're wrong.
Yeah,
and I get that.
I'm glad we squared that away because obviously no one's being insulting here. Steele, by all means, brother, finish your point because I think you had a listen. We said that not everyone was going to agree. Yeah, you're not wrong. Where from a business perspective, if the studio isn't making money because of the games that they are producing, then they become a liability. I 1000% agree with that. I just think that again, Microsoft is in a position where, and you said a lot of people at Bethesda thought that Microsoft was going to save them. And if obviously, yes, they're there to invest in the business, sure, but you also got to produce. I thought that they did produce. I just think that some of the marketing that came from Microsoft might have, kind of, been a bit of the problem. But please continue, Steele.
Yeah, no, the only thing I was gonna add on, and I'll just add it on the back half of what Umber was saying. My perspective is from the consumer perspective and concerning the company, because I try to look. I come from the RTS approach. I pull myself out of the world. I'm not the fan of these games. So if there's somebody that is going to be someone that can speak from the outside looking in and say, "Hey, man, as a consumer, these are the things that I've noticed. As a consumer, I was only put onto these games recently, and I don't see the value in those games enough outside of the value that the people who are fans of those games have." Which is fair. And I want those people to speak up and say, hey, what is truly going on? Why is the messaging sound off to us? But for me, it's like I would rather them do this and put these people on Blade, because I feel like that is going to be a better product overall and in the long run than anything that they've put out up to this point. And the statistics have only proven that for them. And again, if there was a better option to be had, and if we want to say, oh well, there's no excuse because Microsoft is the company and all that, then great. We can run with that angle and then go from there. But my biggest thing is just more so there has to be changes made. And again, Microsoft is in a position that a company that they are acquiring was probably in the process of doing anyway. And if they were dependent on Microsoft, Xbox to save their studios from their past blunders, does that not also beg and question the management on Bethesda's side of the game? Because Microsoft has also openly told us that they are allowing them to operate independently. And if you operate independently, if I allow you to, if I give you a little bit of space, if I give you an inch and you take a mile, I have to now buckle down and say, look, man, things are already moving a certain way. We got to adjust some things. Again, it's not the greatest thing to happen. I don't think it's the right thing to have happened. But as a consumer and as somebody who is invested in the ecosystem, I can see and I can understand, and the picture is painted for me. But I would love to see and hear the reaction to everybody else on this Picasso has been put in front of us, or less than in this situation.
I mean, great points, brother.
In this case,
great points
in this
around.
case, dumpster fire right now.
It absolutely is. Clobriel, who obviously is incredibly moved by this. This is a picture. I'm going to have to just bring this. I have to share this because I have to catch up super chats. Umbra, we're going to come to you in a second. Let me just share this because I think that he's making a point, and I would be remiss if I did not share this with the wow, nearly 1,700 people here.
Hey.
Wow. I mean, that's a broken record. Not the kind of content I'd like breaking records on, but welcome everyone to tuning into Double Barrel Gaming. Obviously, if you're here and you appreciate the commentary, I do this Monday through Friday. I have 5 different panels, 5 different shows, all great content. You know what? We give it to you raw. We give it to you. We give you the truth. We don't try and sugarcoat it. When Sony makes a bad move, we talk about it. When Nintendo consistently makes a bad move by raking us over the coals, and I'm obviously a fan / victim because I keep buying their stuff, we talk about it. This Microsoft, man, I'm sorry. This is a bad play. This is a fumble at the goal line. Sorry. But listen, let me share Globriel's post here because I think that it is fitting. And let me see if there's a way for me to make this bigger. Okay, let me get that out of here. Hold on just a second. Boom. Okay, so there's no way to do it on my end. Let me see if I can enlarge it and it looks bigger on that screen. Hold on just a second. Yeah, it's, you know what? I'm just gonna lower it. There's no way to make it like it fit the whole thing, at least on my side. So as you can see, you know what? Actually, no. Let me try and fix that. Well, I made it worse. Holy crap. Okay, here we go.
You could right click and save it, boom, and then like pull it up as a picture in itself.
You know what? Let me actually do that. Let me just bring everyone back in, and I will stop the sharing. I will bring it up as a picture because it's one of those things that a picture's worth 1,000 words.
Yeah.
Umbra, look, all 4 of the studios, again, 3 are being closed. 1 is being enveloped by another. I think for me, as a fan of Hi-Fi Rush, of a huge fan of Ghostwire Tokyo, and even a bigger fan of the Evil Within series, I'm at a fucking loss right now. These are 3 unique games by a unique developer that was the one fucking bright spot that they had in Japan, and now it's gone. And to me, I understand it's a business, but you're fucking Microsoft. You're a $3 trillion company. This does not make any sense. Pardon the French, folks. I normally run a PG-13 show. I don't like the F-bomb, but I explained to you that this will kind of we're letting the cuffs off today because I'm pretty pissed. And I don't get this. And again, Tango Gameworks was a unique studio with unique talent in a unique area in Japan that has 3 IPs that I just read to you verbatim that are phenomenal and different. Each one of them are so different from the other, and those are not coming back. They're gone. Umbra, by all means, take it, man. Take it away.
Yeah. So the problem, like I said, I have is, and I'm not going to try to draw on too long because I'm low energy because I'm tired. Really, the problem I have with that view, again, it's not specific to you, still, so don't feel attacked.
No, you good.
It's the fact that they're looking at it that direction and they're looking at it the way of protecting their pockets. The problem is then it becomes that what is next, because now you've just closed, you shuttered Tango, like Boom was just mentioning, as our arm into Japan. Shinji already left, so he must have known something was going to happen. So you have them now closed. You had Johansson, what is his name? John Johansson. Yep. You had him on Twitter praising them and Xbox and all this, and so happy with Hi-Fi Rush. You bring Hi-Fi Rush over to PlayStation, only to close Tango. What was the point? Now, you mentioned that, of course, they didn't meet any marks. They didn't sell well or whatever. There's going to be a ton of games in Game Pass that are not going to sell well. Mm-hmm. So what then happens to those studios? That's the problem I have here. Because if this is going to happen to them and they haven't even had a chance, they just got acquired, and this is the first full release they had was this and Ghostwire Tokyo. And already they're gone. Both decent games, mind you. Hi-Fi Rush being a very good one. I loved it. As you know, Boom, I talked about it all the time.
You played through that game 7 times.
So you got that gone now. They're out of there. All those people without jobs. Now you have Arkane Austin, and I'm sure many of us can be like, well, they gave us Redfall, and I get it. But they also gave us other good games, too, that we no longer will get from them, right? More than likely, at least, with Prey. I don't believe they are the ones that make Dishonored, are they? Is it Leon that makes that, or Austin?
For which one?
For Dishonored.
I thought there was Austin as well. I could be off on that. Again, I'm not as familiar. So
you might be right. I can't remember either. So the problem now becomes what of Game Pass. This is the problem, and Young, that's my point, because no one bought Ghostwire or Hi-Fi Rush. Well, now what does the whole package of Game Pass is telling us not to necessarily buy those games, and Young, and to others who are like, well, people got to buy. That's not what we've been incentivized to do on Xbox. You all know it. We've been incentivized to subscribe to their service. We have done that. We've upheld our end of the bargain. These teams are making great games, good games, and they're putting it out there. So it was Leon that made it.
Yeah, Leon. Yes.
Okay, Leon.
Yeah, they're in France. They're in France.
The French team. So I had a feel. I wasn't sure, but so you have us doing our part of it. Some of us even double dip. Some of us do buy the games. I do it. I know some of you guys have bought the games. We are doing that. Sure, not enough of doing it. So now we're doing our part, subscribing to the service that they've given us. And we're trying to uphold that. And then you still say, well, it's not enough. These got to go. So the problem now becomes, what was the point of you even picking up Bethesda? That's 4 studios right there going from them. What happens to the other studios that you have now? The other studios that might not deliver well. What about Double Fine? What if they don't sell well? Like, was there no type of, and this is not just, they didn't produce. Some of this is management issues with Microsoft. And it is an ugly thing that keeps rearing its ugly head for them, where, because, for instance, I can say that specifically because I look at Redfall. Sure, that is largely on Bethesda, but there is no way in the world that should have been greenlit to go out. If you'd have seen what the problems it had, you should have been like, nope, that's not going to do it.
Yeah, that's on them for allowing that game out the door. Yes.
I'm not going to excuse Austin for that, because I don't know how you go from Prey to that. But at the same time, Where's the management to say this is not right? Of course, nobody wanted to buy that. Look how it came out. It's a bunch of issues I have with it. Again, I'm a little tired, so I can't fully get my thoughts out. But my whole problem is Microsoft is this super trillion, $3 trillion company, and I know they have to make money. That's what they're in the business to do. But I would also think that they would be in the business to uphold and to support their studios even through tough times. And right here, this tells people, why would I sign up to you? Why would I support you? Why would I go to you and knowing that you're probably going to shutter me? We keep hearing this right here. You would probably think Microsoft was in Sony's position with how often they close studios. But Microsoft has much more money than Sony does. But you would think there was the other way around with how often you hear it on this side versus theirs. And I think there's a reason for that. It goes back to management. But again, too, I would also say Microsoft probably bit off more than it could chew, right? Maybe that might be the problem. I don't know. It's a lot of issues here that bothers me, but I have a problem where we will no longer get a Hi-Fi Rush 2. We won't get a Within 3. We won't get a Prey 2 or whatever you want to call it, whatever they would have done with it. All those are gone. And I mean, again, Microsoft does own the IP. Of course, they can say, hey, we're going to do this. But who really believes they're going to do that? Who's going to take it from a Tango and say, oh, here, I don't know, random team we own that might not survive either, make another Hi-Fi Rush? It's just not how it's going to work. So if we're going by that and a measure of these games haven't produced, there are a ton of games at Microsoft that have not produced well as far as sales go. What happens to them now? All this does is further rob any faith that anybody would have in Microsoft and Xbox.
Yep.
And in Game Pass too, I would argue, because again, that's what we've been incentivized to support. We support it, and then the studios still get closed down. And well, they didn't sell well enough. Well, that's not what you all told us. Maybe you shouldn't have given us Game Pass then, if that's going to be your argument. Because if we're supposed to support you guys by subscribing to this thing, and then you still close these studios down, part of the reason why many of us are sticking to Game Pass is because of all these studios you all got.
Yep.
And me personally, I get the quality argument because we definitely want that, but I want both. I'm greedy.
But the unique thing about Xbox Game Pass, Umbra, to add some context to what you're saying, is how, look, this isn't a shot at Sony. Right now, we're giving smoke to Xbox, and it's well deserved. But here's the difference. Sony puts out quality AAA games, but let's be fair. If you were to take your skin off another, it's literally the same game. I own a PS5 for those games. I love those experiences. Let's get it clear. This is not a try to turn the cheek so you don't look at Microsoft. No, we're going to keep looking at them because they deserve the smoke. But the difference here is Sony puts out a lot of games that are very samey in the way that they are developed and the way that they are played. Again, I love them for that because I like those single-player experiences. The difference here with Game Pass is that no matter where you look, you could find in the same packaging a Hellblade 2, which releases in 2 weeks. Again, stupid for Microsoft to do this now, and a Vampire Survivors. And you know what? Both games could be my game of the year. Obviously, Vampire Survivors came in second for when that game came out. I'm still playing it now like it's a brand new game, and we don't know where Hellblade is going to be. That could be at the end of the year, game of the year conversation. But see, that's the difference. You're talking about an 8-bit sprite game that you only move a stick and press an A button to pick your next weapon. That's it. Versus Hellblade 2, which is going to be cinematic, and it's going to be pointed, and it's going to have a lot of context behind some of the things you're hearing. Those are in Game Pass. Those are why we have Game Pass, because there's never the same thing in there. And that's a great point, Umbra. Great point.
I just wanted to add on real quick, Umber, and I'll give it right back to you. I'm not going to get into a long dialogue. The only thing I was going to add on was that, and it couldn't have just been sales, because to your point, Umber, you're like, well, we supported with sales, we supported through Game Pass, we're doing the things that you're asking us to do. I would say that I think it would have been even worse and happened much quicker if it was only dependent on sales. It would have been much worse, I think. I think Game Pass allowed them that breathing room that they look for. And then just to give you I'll get one of your super chats out the way for you, Boom, because I think it pertains to what we're speaking
by
to.
all means, please.
From Marty with the $5, he says, you guys are wrong. I don't know about all that, but he said Arkane lost a ton of devs after Redfall, which is true. Tango lost their founder after Hi-Fi Rush, which is true. And the co-founder before that. Creatives and devs left Tango. There was a lot of tumultuous stuff already happening behind the scenes as they were making this transition. So, I mean, that could be
Shinji didn't even work on that game. That was
John, no, but he was
game.
He was kind of like he was the guy that John Johannes kind of went to, was like, hey, what do you think? Right? And John Johannes kind of talked about that.
Yeah, but they even speak on it. He talked about that himself. He didn't even work on that game. Like he might have given his input, like, oh, that looks good. He wasn't actually actively working on it. That was Johannes. Like, what's his name? How do you say it again? I forgot.
John Johannes.
John Johannes. Yes.
Yeah. I get him on other points, but that one, Shinji wasn't even working on that. That was really Johannes and his team doing that right there, as far as Hi-Fi Rush. And I just saw the super chat from Hey Blinken, which was just like, yeah, rest in peace. It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
But again, I get it. I do get it. I'm not going to act like I don't understand the reality of it. But my whole point of it is, it just feels like, to me, I guess the messaging and how you deliver it, and again, too, having the controller, like, oh, here's the new controller.
That is my God. My God. It who reads the room? Is something. I mean, how does the left hand not know what the right hand is doing? You're a $3 trillion company. You're dropping some real heinous shit on the interwebs to let us know that you closed 4 studios, 3 of which are wiped off the map, gone. They're gone. Bye. See you later. And one is being put together with another studio. And in the same freaking breath, by the way, we have this orange hot controller. Yeah, you know what's hot? What's happening in real life, not a controller. I look, there is no defending the stupidity here. Umbra, I'm going to let you continue because we want to bring in Crazy Lou Gaming, who is going to get crazy. And I do want to catch up on super chats because, my God, there is a shit ton of them. Thank you for the generosity, folks. Please continue, Umbra.
Yeah, like I said, I'm low energy, man, because again, I'm tired and I'm also annoyed. But then if you look at the replies to this, if you go and look at the retweets and quote retweets, whatever, people are, and I'm talking about diehard Xbox fans too,
are mad. Yes,
are not incensed. Like, they're saying stuff that I didn't even expect them to say. You know, like F Xbox, F Phil Spencer, specifically tagging him and saying it. And I've never really seen this reaction like this, and it's a lot of them doing it. You got, like you brought up before, Dinga Bakaba. I don't know how this is going to fare for him in the job. I hope this doesn't hurt our brother.
I think he's going to be fine. He's a studio head. So? He's making Blade. And you know what? He has a right to give his opinion. And he did it in a fair manner. I think he's 100% right. I think he's trying to be a unit.
I'll just say I know how they can be on that and try to get it, people speaking out as they would feel out of turn. But again, you have people, even Dinga, for instance, in the position he's in, and speaking out on what he feels is a mismanagement move by them. Again, it's just like, a lot of the guys in Xbox, and that's why I say, like, how does this instill faith? They're going to have a show of all shows this June for the showcase, because again, I just feel like this right here just continues to destroy the faith. Mind you, guys, we're only in May. We got many more months to go. How many more studios are we going to lose? And I don't want to speak like that because I'm an optimist by nature. So call me Optimus Prime. I'm sorry. Anyway, but I'm just saying, it's like, what are we going to get going further this year alone already with these types of closures and studios that might not or might miss their mark, should I say, as far as whatever sales or whatever. I don't know. It just doesn't speak faith into the platform.
It doesn't. There are more questions here today than ever. I mean, I don't necessarily see like Game Pass. I know some people are like, "Oh no, they're gonna close up shop." No, they're not. Game Pass is making money for them. They are making a ridiculous amount of money on Game Pass. They have over 30 million subscribers, maybe closer to 35 now. And when the bangers start coming out, people are going to sub. And when Call of Duty is in Game Pass, I'm telling you, folks, you're going to see numbers like you've never seen before. But I'm not here to speak for the $3 trillion company, because they're not buying Mrs. Boom in my house for me, right?
Mhm.
We're saving up right now for it, and they're not going to contribute. So fuck Microsoft. I'll say that right now. Listen, this is an ugly look, and I am not going to defend it. I'm going to speak as a fan. I don't want to hear the business end of it. I understand the business. I understand that moving forward, there's going to be games going to other platforms that normally would never be there. That's the business. When the money men and women are in charge, this is what happens. But it's Crazy Lou Gaming. I want to bring you in. But before I do, I got to catch up on these super chats. Chris R. drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, nothing good to say about Xbox today. I'm honestly really doubting Phil Spencer's leadership at this point. ABK was clearly a negative turning point. Yeah, you know what? I mean, I don't know what Phil has, control in this. He is the head of Microsoft Gaming. I would imagine that he had to be in the room, but I don't know. I'm not making excuses for him. I don't know. Does this decision come from Satya or Amy Hood or anyone higher than Phil Spencer? Maybe. I would imagine in the next couple of days we're going to hear about it. I just think that it's gross. It is just not a good timing to do this, and it's just one of those rake-stepping moments that just make me scratch my head as an Xbox fan. Shout out to Kay Asante, who says that this is Microsoft doing it again, snatching. What does he say? I believe he says snatching the something from defeat, snatching the win from defeat. I got to get his quote. Sorry if I butchered that, but I'll get the correct quote. Hey Blinken drops a very generous $10 super chat and says Tango Gameworks hurts the most, and I agree. I've replayed Evil Within series several times, and Hi-Fi Rush was my game of the year. Very frustrated. No Japanese studios now. Yeah, it's just doesn't make sense. Smokey, who's been a channel member for 37 months, bro, that is crazy generous of you. Thank you so much for the support. He goes, just like so many things talked about on these shows, remember, the majority of gamers, casuals, won't even hear or care about this news. And you know what? You're right. The casuals won't, but we do. And I think it does matter. And I think the timing is everything. And this is just another absolute blunder for Microsoft as a corporation and Xbox as a platform. I'm sorry, there's just no way to sugarcoat how ugly this actually looks. Hey Blinken drops a very generous $20 super chat and says, how does this affect future acquisitions in Japan? That's a great point. Is Japan going to let Xbox buy future game companies knowing they will close them when they make amazing games that don't sell well? I mean, to that point, isn't that what Game Pass is for? Like, we know that back in the days before Xbox Game Pass, there was a person in the room that said you needed to sell X amount of copies or it's a failure. We've seen that happen with Square Enix. We've seen that happen with Sony. They need to sell X amount of money or X amount of copies to make the money back that they spent. Spider-Man 2, $315 million. It needed to sell nearly 8 million copies at full price to be considered profitable. Has it done that? Well, they did sell 10 million of them, but I don't know if they sold 10 million of them because a lot of those were bundles. So did they make their money back? Well, I don't know because I don't have that in front of me. Game Pass, though, folks, is the outlier here because the way it's supposed to work is you own these studios, you take said game, you put it into the service, and someone in the community is going to say, holy shit, that game is amazing. I'm subbed. And then they go in and they see all of these other games. And that is how you build your subscription service by offering many different types of games. That's the point of Game Pass. I don't know why, something like Hi-Fi Rush and Ghostwire Tokyo and potentially the Evil Within 3 would have been in there. It would have attracted people to your service, and that's how you make your money. Rather than the one sale of the game, you get 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 people to sub that wouldn't have subbed because that game wasn't in there.
I'll add to that, Boom. It's like, of course, you brought them in. I'm sure they spoke to these teams individually. You speak to Tango, you speak to Shinji Mikami, which we know they did, and I'm sure they told him the good stuff. Oh yeah,
Yes.
sweet talk. Oh, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do right by you. Shinji's going up. Well, we said that to Shinji, not you all, and that's what it feels like. But on top of that, they only had one release under Microsoft, which was Hi-Fi Rush. They didn't get a
Yes.
chance to do a
And that was
single
a
other
shadow
game.
drop. No marketing,
Exactly.
no nothing. Just there you go.
A shadow drop. And on top of that, they didn't get a chance to do anything else. So how could they ever try to recoup anything? They only had one chance. And I'm sure they weren't told, hey, if you don't get this right with this game, you're out of there. I'm pretty sure they weren't told that. So it's like you had this one game, which by every metric was great, but maybe it didn't sell as well. But it's no fault of mine, or I'm sure many of you others folks out here, because I bought it. But the thing is like it didn't do well. But then is there what incentivizes other groups outside of, well, we better sell well, and they still make a great game and you're still going. Hi-Fi Rush is a great game. They didn't
it's not a good
shortchange us
game.
with that game.
It is a great game.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a great game. They delivered there, but they didn't sell. That's not a fault of Tango. So what are the other teams to do when they make a great game and then it still doesn't sell well? That's the problem with this right here. And they only got one game out under Microsoft, only one under them, and they're gone. They didn't get a chance to say, okay, we'll move down to a lower tier of AA gaming to lower the cost or something. Anything. Nope, you're just gone.
It's called investors, bro. It's called investors. Now I'm gonna jump into that. When Boom finishes reading the super chat, there's one guy in the super chat actually nailed something there, and I can't wait till he reads it.
Okay.
He nailed it.
Let me get to it. Pyraf, I believe that's how you're saying. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. Apologies for destroying your name. Drops a very generous $2 super chat and simply says in all caps, Xbox, stop releasing your games on PlayStation. I mean, that's not going to happen. I don't know what games they're going to release on PlayStation, but they're going to continue to do that because obviously they're going to want to make money. And the industry, unfortunately, is dictating that even Sony is going to put games on other platforms that are not PlayStation and not PC, potentially Xbox and Switch. They're just going to maybe not Switch 1, Switch 2, but we will see. Big Mad Mo, who's been a channel member for 24 months, dude. That is crazy generous of you. Thank you so much for the support. He says, shout out to the panel. This sucks about the studios, but this is what they told us would happen. Still excited for what's to come. Hashtag boot on next season. Yeah, I mean, I'm still excited for June. I just think that once again, Microsoft and Xbox takes the wind out of the sails. They're cruising. They have everything to do to win, and they step on it, man. I don't know what else to say. Nate Johnson drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, the studios were not working money. Remember, they were taking deals with Sony. They weren't making money, I think he meant to say. They were taking deals from Sony. Look at the money Square lost. Yeah, I mean, they did take all those deals because at that time Bethesda was in a real bad pinch. Before Microsoft bought them, they were in the potential of closure. And I don't know how bad it was, but it was pretty bad. And that's why they made games like Fallout 76, because they tried. Now, granted, Fallout 76 is different now, not when it launched. When it launched, it was terrible. And obviously, you saw Wolfenstein come out, not the traditional Wolfenstein. They made a multiplayer one where co-op one with the daughters, and it was freaking awful. There you go. JJ saying 117 drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, I Still Reign is correct on what he said. And like I said, I believe in the business aspect of it. But if he's not making money, it doesn't make sense, right? That's what they say. Nightwolf 3186 drops a very generous $5 super chat and Steel Rain. He says, kudos and great points today, sir. Business sucks, but it doesn't ever change no matter what company you are. G Mania 1. Wow. He drops, folks, a very generous $20 super chat. And he goes on to say, let's get Mr. Badbit in here. Badbit, we'll come to you in a hot second. Badbit, let me just continue with these super chats we have. He goes on to say, I think a lot of this has to do with Xbox Game Pass. Game Pass is good for the consumers and Microsoft, but bad for the developers. I hate to say it. They need to get rid of Game Pass and get people to start buying games again. Yeah,
It's the reverse, bro. People aren't buying more games. If it was sales alone, these guys would have been closed down.
Yeah,
that's proof.
I look. I mean, again, G Mania, thank you so much for the super chat. And again, your point is well taken. Here's the problem, though. If you look at the industry specifically in 2024, Steele's right once again. People, us gamers, are not buying games at full boat. Sony has talked about this.
Exactly.
EA has talked about this. The GTA
the
maker.
console market's not enough.
Yeah, it's just gamers are not buying games, and it might have to do with the $70 price point. It hurt the industry.
It's not that they're not buying games; they're buying games. It's just not enough people are.
Yes,
Like the growth isn't there.
Yeah.
Right. So like the console market ain't enough. It's why you're seeing Microsoft go, let's make a mobile app. You know, that's why they've been so aggressive on PC, looking elsewhere beyond just the console market that has been stagnant for the past 2 generations.
Yeah, no, great points. Listen, Joe, we love first of all, voice of the trophy room that you should be subscribed to. We'll get all his deets in a second. Thank you so much for joining us, because we're going to go to Crazy Lou in a second. DJ Berto DOS drops a very generous $2 super chat, and I like this because, well, I'm biased. He says, "For the love of Joe, smack that like button, folks." Thank you so much for that. That's one of my favorite lines, for the love of Joe. Well, we have a Joe here, so thank you so much for that. Eric the Red 06 drops a very generous $5 super chat. He says, "Mass layoffs, studio closures, and not even a great game can save itself. So what's next for the chopping block? Shrink the budgets of the future AAA titles? ? I mean, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do, because you're going to probably get smaller experiences. I mean, I know that the head of Sony, what was his name? Sean Layden. I love Sean. Sean had said something in an interview that these balloon AAA budgets cannot exist anymore. He said that 2 years ago when he was unbelievably shunned by Sony. He was one of my favorite executives over at PlayStation, and he was right then, and he's even more right today. Reaver, I believe that's how you pronounce it, drops a very... Oh, no, hold on a sec. We have Archangel, MCXV1, drops a very generous $10 super chat. And he goes on to say, "This is not the same Xbox. Phil has lost control. Finance and board now are in control.
Disagree.
Even with $3 trillion market cap, every studio needs to be profitable. If not, finance board will shut it down. Sad day." And I think that, you know what, I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to go over to Crazy Lou Gaming. Crazy Lou, let's talk about what he said, and more importantly, the very sad news of the day.
All right, now let's jump real quick. I'm gonna split this into 3, right? I'll split this into 3 because, like I said this morning, I headed in to talk about what's been happening, and this just smacked me in the face. While the day was going by, a lot more news came up, right? So, as a company, right? As a company, if people are pointing fingers at Phil, people are pointing fingers at Matt Booty, people are pointing fingers at the whole Xbox division. Listen, guys, I bet you. I bet you. I don't know because I wasn't in the room, but I bet you Phil went out there. He tried to defend this. I bet you all these guys tried to defend this from happening. Because at the end of the day, it's like how Steele said it. Maybe the company had issues before when they bought it, and the marketing was just not right. The marketing was just not right because we saw out there. I mean, there's a news over there that Danny Pena even reposted and said we're going to reinvest in Tango Gameworks after that hit, which was Hi-Fi Rush. Right? They said it. And also like how Steve was calling it, right? He was saying that that is they're letting them work independently. You know, maybe this is an issue with Bethesda, and we don't know what was happening before they got bought. But I guess we're seeing the result, and it's happening. Okay, but like I said though, right? Maybe Phil fought this through, did not want this to happen, but now it comes to the point, right? This morning, when Arkane Liam Boss Dinga Makaba came out, he said this. don't throw us. These are words that I was like, oh man, finally there's something that comes out clear. Don't throw us into gold fever gambits. What are these gold fever gambits? Who are they? That's the question. Who are they? Who are the guys who are always looking for gold? Who are the guys that say, hey, here's some of my money, give me something back? The investors. That's how it is. Investors have been calling the shots. I mean, look what happened this weekend. Look what happened this weekend. We all saw what happened with Helldivers. I'm going to jump real quick with Helldivers. What happened with Helldivers this weekend? I mean, why in the blue hell a company like Sony is going to say, let me force this on here? To please who? Like, who are they going to please? Was it dumb? No, because they got their money right there. Who are they going to please? Who are they going to please? They wanted that number to please who? The investors.
Yep.
So they can keep on reinvesting. We have talked about this throughout the weekend and the beginning of this week. We have talked about this. The investors are doing too much damage out here.
Yep.
And they don't see it. They don't see how much damage you're doing. Steel, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
This is a big question.
Okay.
Tell me, what game has not gone in development hell this past 6 years? I mean, you came the other day, and listen, you came the other day, and I was like, man, Steel brings out a good point. You said something about Starfield.
Yeah.
It's the last game you want to play, from the beginning, on to wait 6 months to patch it up. You said that.
Mhm.
So I asked you this: what game did not go through development hell in the last 6 years, especially with pandemic going on? Now I'm speaking on development side. I mean, this gen, right? We saw Sony come up with the numbers saying nobody's buying $70 games. Why nobody's buying $70 games? Because these games are coming out with issues now.
In the economy too.
Yeah. They're coming out with issues. They're coming out with a problem. People are not buying these games because of that. What do they rather do? They'd rather wait a period to go buy it. Now, if it's in a lower price, what are you going to do? You're going to buy it right there. It happened to me when it started this generation. We saw what happened with Cyberpunk. Look how Cyberpunk came out. And that was way before pandemic. Look how it came out. I waited till they patch it up because I had a problem with CD Projekt. This is a personal problem of mine because it happened to me with Witcher. I lost 30 hours of gaming because there was a problem with the save. So I decided to wait till they patch things up. And when did I buy it? 2 years later. And I bought it. I think 2 years later, it was still 60. And when I found out they patched it up, I bought it right there. 2 years later, bought the game, played it, enjoyed it, hella fun, but it was all fixed. That's what happened with the $70 games. Why people aren't buying it? Because damn, these games are coming out with issues. So if you go out there, you purchase these companies, right? Like Phil was doing it, right? And these investors don't see eye to eye with this because, like I said, there was a news out there saying they're going to reinvest. On my point of view, like a consumer, they should have given it a chance. They should have let them go, let them see what can they do, right? Give them a chance and reinvest into it because at the end of the day, you were talking about Hi-Fi didn't do so well. You probably in sales and this, but we saw in marketing out there that Aaron Greenberg said this was a hit. A bunch of people said it was a hit, that it did well, and now all of a sudden they come out of nowhere and they close us. I mean, this game won awards. This studio won awards. It was doing fairly well. So when they came out and said we're going to reinvest, probably the investors said, wait a minute, let's check this out. Let's stop this, right? Like I said, investors are causing a big commotion out there. And it's not that I'm saying that I'm going to go against the investors. I'm going to say, the hell with all that stuff. But listen, these investors are causing a lot of damage just to make a quick buck, and it's affecting us gamers. Still, till this day, after the Helldivers issue happened, and I even told myself I'm not even going to show this on Twitter. I'm not going to do this because I don't like to affect the brand. I don't like to affect Arrowhead. I don't like to cause this commotion to anybody because I don't know in the near future if Arrowhead, a developer, might come to my channel. I don't know if Sony might come to my channel or anything. I don't know. I don't like to affect brands, but till this day, still, I'll tell you this much. I've been looking at Steam in Dominican Republic. I go into Steam, and I can even show you the DM of the video that I still cannot even purchase Helldivers. It took it out of my country. Just to please these guys, who have been looking for for those numbers to go out there and talk about it. I mean, what happens to us gamers? It's like how Umber came out and talked about, like what are we going to see? I mean, what's going to happen?
Profits over people. Yeah.
That's the thing, profits over people. So if we don't go out there and talk about this, you know, and start pointing fingers to see if we start changing minds, what's going to happen in the future? Like Umber said, okay, this game becomes a hit, but what happens if the studios close? I mean, what about us that we love to play these games? We got to talk about it, man. And it's not like I said, you know, I'm trying to shut out the brand or anything, because listen, I'm an Xbox guy. I love my Xbox to death. But today was just a sad news that, damn, they should have been more communicative about it. And that's the main word. Communication is important, especially to us since we're the consumers. We go out there and buy. And like I said, it's important to us to know what's going on. I mean, what's wrong with showing us what's happening with High Five? What's wrong with you looking for ways to impulse High Five? Or what's wrong with you going in there and, like I said, fighting these investors, saying, hey, listen, this is not a good move. You're going to rattle everybody, because look, now the community is asking questions, which is normal. Nothing wrong with asking questions, because we got to ask the questions. Nothing wrong with that. But until this is what, oh man, just left my idea, left my head. But until what point are these investors going to keep pushing this? Because if they keep pushing this, what are they going to do? Xbox is just going to become a company that before they said, oh, we just let developers work on their own games. Now what are you going to do? You're going to become like ABK, when before they used to create a lot of games. Now they're starting. Now what are they creating? Just Call of Duty. That's what you're all going to do. Because seriously, you guys came out there with good ideas, good thoughts, right? Good ideas, good thoughts. So you guys got to fight this. Guys got to put your gloves on and fight with these investors and tell them, listen, what y'all are doing, you're damaging the brand. Not only us, even for Sony. Because that move that even Sony made this weekend was a terrible move for the gamers who actually bought the game and played it. Terrible move for them.
Yeah, I think your point is, and it's, I'm about to echo, it's profits over people, right?
Yeah.
So it's like,
great point, Joe.
It's like,
yes.
You know, for example, let's go to Helldivers real quick before we get to this kind of preview for this week's trophy room. It's like, why would Sony do something so dumb? It's like, oh, because they want to change the way that they approach shareholders, going, it's actually not so much about the box anymore as it is about monthly active users. And how do you get that monthly active users up? Well, you have a very, very, very popular game, and you go, well, you know, just use this. What's a sign-in? You know, everybody has a sign-in. We'll just toss it into Helldivers. We'll give you no benefit for doing so, and you know, it'll go over smoothly. And it didn't, right? It didn't affect players by any chance. If they were just like, hey, it's for cross progression or whatever have you, it's optional, great. But for them to go, rubber stamp, this affects all starting in 3 days, it's like, no, you're doing it because of not my benefit. You're doing it because you want the shareholders to be happy, which is exactly what we get to this point here when we talk about Bethesda. It's like, yes, understood. You know, Bethesda was not doing great prior to the Xbox buyout, right? I don't think that's a surprise or, you know, whatever. I think it's
shock. No, they weren't doing good, Joe.
They weren't doing great. Xbox comes, buys them out, and right now what you're seeing is the kind of delayed reaction of what Bethesda probably would have done 2+ years ago when, you know, Xbox hired or bought them if they didn't. You know, so what you're seeing is Xbox going, okay, listen, we tried with these studios, it didn't work out for whatever reason. And we're gonna forego them, and that sucks. That's awful.
It's terrible.
It's goddamn terrible. So you know, when you go into like, well, why did Redfall fail? You talk about the Phil Spencer kind of funny interview, and this is where I start having problems. Where like Phil's like, yeah, that's on us. You start hearing the reports of like, yeah, you know, our teams, we were a bit too preoccupied with Starfield and not what this team at Arkane Austin wanted. You could see the pedigree of what they could make with like games like Prey, where it's like, yeah, they're not commercial hits, but if we could put some money behind them, they could be something. And you know, you take the blame for Arkane, which rightfully so, that's what leaders should do. And then you see, you know, Tango with Ghostwire, and that, you know, Ghostwire being Ghostwire doesn't light the world on fire. Don't think it was a failure by any means, but wasn't a glowing success. And then you see them back this smaller idea with Hi-Fi Rush, and it seemingly lights the world on fire in a sense of like the Xbox community goes, this is what we'd like. This is awesome. Like, I think, like, you know, shadow dropping it, I think Xbox would probably admit now was a mistake, but like they seemed happy with that game. It seemed happy with the performance. And then you talk about, well, okay, if they're happy with the performance, they genuinely seemingly liked Tango, wanted to keep a Japanese presence. Well, why, you know, say you're going to invest in them, why stop investing in Tango? And it goes to, well, Louis, I think you kind of hinted at, it's like, it's the ABK influence.
Yes.
It's the influence, like, you know, when we talk about, and I've talked about this openly and gotten bashed for it, but it's like, yeah, Xbox may have purchased ABK, but ABK definitely is the thing now that has influenced Xbox the most, because they are looking at the goalposts, right? It's like, yeah, this game sells, this game's cute. All right. But what's that Call of Duty number? Why can't we make more of those now that we have all these cool IPs, right? Like, why can't we just simplify it into things that we know are brand hits rather than trying to go out and explore and do something else? And so you take a look at Tango and go, that company just doesn't fit what the portfolio is turning into. And so when you take a look at Bethesda, and this is what I tweeted out, and I kind of stand by it, it seems like Bethesda is just now turning into Fallout, Elder Scrolls, Doom, whatever license game we're working on currently. And that's sad.
They take away Doom, man. I mean,
oh man, I
do. No, hey, listen, they killed my Mighty Doom. I mean, I hope they keep supporting it, because my Mighty Doom game, man.
But like that, and that's the thing, that what we're seeing now is like Xbox going, okay, so these are the studios that work. And, you know, we're going to put that investment somewhere else, because it is now about chasing what the shareholders want. And what the shareholders really want, guys, is, why can't we just put them everywhere? Why can't we put Gears on PlayStation? Why can't we put, you know, Fable on Switch? Whatever. It's like, this is now what you see. It's kind of like, we wanted this until or the Xbox folks wanted this until we found out what we got from it, right? Like, we fought, like, how much did we want this ABK thing to go through? And now that it's gone through, we're like, oh, this company is changing in real time.
Bad bit. It sounds like you're saying then that they're angling to go to third party, just full third party.
I think, I think like a hybrid of the two. Sure. I think you're always going to have their hardware. They're always going to have it. But I don't think that Microsoft at large truly cares about the hardware like we care about the hardware. Like, that it's the center. It's like what Sony's learning right now, right? With Hiroki Totoki going, we got to be more ambitious with PC and mobile. Xbox thinking the same thing. Microsoft Gaming thinking the same thing. We got to think broader. We got to think beyond the boxes, right? We got to think about, hey, how can we put this game over to phones, because there's a huge audience there? How do we put this game over to PC, because there's a huge audience there? And the growing pains of learning those audiences that aren't inherently yours. So like, Microsoft is put in this position that they've placed themselves in, where they've closed down some really awesome studios for the sake of them not being the uber successful things that we know for, like, your, again, Call of Duty's, your Fallouts, your whatever have you. And it sucks. And it absolutely sucks.
Here's my take though, Mr. Babbitt, because listen, right now, this gen, I mean, let's be honest about how games are this gen. I mean, they're not delivering what they were supposed to deliver. I mean, when you grab these boxes, we had these beautiful boxes of 4K, 16,
and we were sold on promises.
Yeah, we were sold on promises, right? But we know that there was a pandemic, and some people tend to forget. It was development hell for all these studios to go through that, you know, to deliver us a great game. I mean, we had this discussion last Wednesday on our show with two developers. They explained to us a lot of things, and we were like, oh, wow, you know, stuff that we didn't know. That, you know, partly it was great point of views from the devs to talk about it, because that's stuff that we probably don't know what they go through, what's going on. It's hard to develop. It's not easy. Yeah. But this gen, right, for the games, it's like I said, I used to be a day one buyer. I used to buy my games day one.
Sure.
But once, you know, like, I'll give you an example, big example, Dying Light 2, when it released. I bought Dying Light 2. I bought Battlefield 2042.
Oh, no.
You know, day one, I'm telling you. Day one. And look what happened. For Dying Light 2, I had to wait a while for them to fix it. And same thing with Battlefield 2042.
Yeah.
But it's safe to say, you know, and Ponzo's console, though, I had to throw a little bit of fire to Ponzo. It was perfect, though. I wonder what console he has.
Right.
I just want to throw this out there to go to your point, bad bit, what you were talking about as far as that and what we were talking about with sales. Jez asked exactly what I was asking earlier. He posed a question last year in April. He said if Xbox is pressuring ZeniMax to deliver sales of its games, maybe it shouldn't put so much emphasis on Xbox Game Pass, which is what I was saying, is that they've incentivized us to go to Game Pass, but clearly they're saying now with this move that you needed sales. So which is it? And Aaron Greenberg came in there literally saying it was a breakout. Hi-Fi Rush was a breakout success hit,
Right.
and it hit all their key measurements and expectations. We couldn't be happier with Tango Gameworks with what they delivered with their surprise release. So then what the hell happened?
Right. And that's the aggravating thing. It's like you guys said it was, first off, this is the thing that pisses me off about Xbox. This is what I'm gonna take the gloves off for real. When they bring out these awesome games like Hi-Fi Rush and they go, this is the beauty of Game Pass. We don't have to think about the sales of these games. This Game Pass itself is the reason why these games exist, and they're able to go out and be weird and do all these creative things, right? Remember when they were making like Pentiment and Hi-Fi, they were saying all this stuff, and then you see they're like, hey, over 2 million people playing the game. Isn't this awesome? I think it's awesome. That's a new IP. That's something that, like, yeah, hopefully we could see a franchise of something, a genre we don't get enough of, right? Rhythm games, shit. A rhythm action on top of that, awesome. And then to see them go, oh, we're reinvesting in Tango. Excellent. Why the change? Why the change?
Yeah, why the change? Indeed.
And it goes back to, like, you know, what I think we've all been saying. I think a lot of developers are feeling this way. Is just like, we can make a goddamn beautiful game, hits on all cylinders. You can make a Spider-Man, right? A game that sells 15 million units, the highest selling, fastest selling, whatever tags you want to put on it. That studio's still going to get hit with layoffs. You can make a dud with Arkane, right? Austin with a Redfall, and that, you know, that's a dud. And you can make something that is a Hi-Fi Rush, which is beautiful, artistic. It's going to win you awards, right? It's going to win you momentum with your fandom, and even that's not enough. So where is it? Where's the line? What's the line of success? Is it with Game Pass? Is it with buying the game? What is it? And us as consumers, I think we have to be better about going, well, you know what Aaron Greenberg said, or like, you know, Xbox executive here said this game is a success, blah, blah, blah. And like just us going off that and going, yeah, that's fact. Because I like, to me at this moment, I don't know which way is up. Sorry, Louis.
Because here's the thing, though, Mr. Rapid. It's not even buying the game anymore. Because I'll give you an example. We saw the leaks, right? Yeah. We saw the leaks with Spider-Man. In order to make profit, they had to sell 7.2 million copies.
And that's the problem.
Oh my god!
Right? So like the games are getting more expensive to make. Right? They're becoming more and more expensive to make, and the audience of which we've hit critical mass on consoles. Right? At least PlayStation has. The PlayStation problem is like they're hitting around the same number, maybe a little less, give or take. And the budgets are getting too goddamn big. So the games have to get shorter. But the problem is like, even when you have a Miles Morales that sells really well, you're going to have people. I remember people saying, oh, it's just DLC. It's only 8 hours. It's like, no, it's a great game. Why are we tying length to how good this game is? Right? Like Hellblade's going to be a shorter experience, but I'm going to be there day one because it looks phenomenal. So like, it's also, how do you retrain an audience to go, hey, listen, not every game needs to be 80 to 100 hours. Because most of the gamers don't even freaking beat these games.
Yes.
Yep. So, you brought up a good point, because, I mean, listen, I did a little bit of research, right? With even Spider-Man, the first one that came out in 2018, right?
Yeah.
Like a couple years later, just PS4 version. I don't want people to jump on me because of PS5. I remember that they put out the news that they sold 20 million copies, right? But when you jump in there and you look at the trophy that says complete Act 3, that is the final act of the game, it's only 49.8%. So 20 million people who bought the game didn't beat the like.
And that's considered a good stat. Like that's the thing that's crazy. Is like we really have to dial back. Not every game, we talk about this on the trophy room. Not every game needs to be the Naughty Dog level. I can see every pore on their face, right? Not every game needs to be an Elden Ring where I'm getting lost for 100+ hours, right? You need more diversity in not just the genres that you're creating, but you need more diversity in the length and duration of each game. That's the problem that we're hitting. It's not akin to a PlayStation or Xbox. It's a Nintendo. It's a EA. It's
everyone.
All of it problem.
Yes.
That's and
stroke.
The biggest problem of all is when you have 6 games that most people are playing on their PS4s, on their iPhones, on their iPads. They don't feel they need to go up there and purchase a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series or whatever. Then the game has to change, which means it's something that we've preached on the trophy room for almost 5 years now, which is like what at the end of the day these things are going to turn into, which is apps on screens. You have to go where the consumers are, because we're old men playing the consoles. These younger kids, I talked to to some of my I'll just call them kids. The kids that I work with at work, that I gotta tell them to do stuff. They don't care. They're playing games on their iPad. They're playing Lethal Company on their PC. They're excited. Like my one buddy, he's excited to play Ghost of Tsushima for the first time. Where on his PC?
On PC,
yeah. Me too. Yep. It's about going where they are. And we're at this point in this industry where, yeah, you're right. COVID money came into play where everybody had it. Getting money was easier than ever if you wanted to go make these types of like crazy investments or fun stuff, and things got out of hand. And now what we're seeing is people are going outside again.
It's a great point. Listen, I want to bring Hargeet Chani in, and we'll get everyone's final thoughts and theories here. But let me just catch up on super chats. My God, there's been so many of them. Well, Reaver drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Arkane Austin devs deserved better. They were forced to make a game that was completely out of their wheelhouse, and they were poorly led. Damn shame, indeed." Alvin drops a very generous $5 super chat. Alvin says this: Take-Two also just closed 2 studios that were actually successful, and they got money also. I wonder if this is a sign for the entire industry. And I think you're onto something. Marty had dropped the $5 super chat, and I believe Umber had read it earlier. He says, "You guys are wrong. Arkane lost a ton of devs. After Redfall, Tango lost their founder. After Hi-Fi, co-founder before that. Creatives and devs left Tango." Yeah, I mean, they did. But again, obviously, there was still a lot of talent left behind.
Yeah, but he was chaperoning people, from what I'm aware. He was very much like a mentor.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he was 100%. Yeah. Real quick, before I read,
enough to shutter them either. I don't think.
Yeah. I agree, absolutely agree. First of all, 2,000+ live viewers. Holy crap! Wow, that is just crazy. A big thank you to everyone that tuned in. Again, I hate to do this because it sounds like I'm shilling, but we're trying really hard to hit 15K this year. If you are finding the channel for the first time, and again, I don't want to get yelled at by Randolph Thor 19, who does it on a regular basis. He says, "Boom, you got to ask for the people to hit the like button, and you got to ask for people to sub the channel." He's over 100,000 subscribers, so I'm going to follow what he has to say. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Again, we gave it to you live, raw, and uncut, as Steele did to open up the show. And listen, we're going to continue to do that while we still have you guys and gals here. Habe Lincoln drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "Rest in peace, Chai, 2023 to 2024." Yeah, that's a shame. He's one of my favorite new characters too. Black Helmet Man, he's been a channel member, ladies and gentlemen, for 32 months. That is crazy generous of you, sir. He says, "Good thing they're having record revenue this year." He's not wrong. I mean, yeah, that's a good dig right there, and I absolutely agree with it. Roshan Impenger, who's been a channel member for 6 months. Thank you so much for the support. He says, "What I'm afraid of is that ABK is at the root of this, and the full price of ABK still isn't paid." I mean, the money people want their money. It's gross when you see this. They're making money hand over fist. I don't know what else to say. And obviously, look at the numbers. The only thing that was down was consoles. They were down in they were up in service sales. They were up in everything but console sales.
It's like what I've said on your show multiple times, Boom. It's they didn't spend $68 billion just to make back $68 billion.
I know. Yeah, no, you've said it before, and you are not wrong, sir.
Yeah.
Black Ronin 357 drops a very generous $5 super chat and says this studio stuff sucks, but these aren't the only studios Xbox has that are cooking. I still have faith, and this doom and gloom stuff doesn't help. I mean, listen, I understand that again. I still am an Xbox guy. I still have tremendous excitement for the brand, but I had to be honest through the Today's Show. I had to give it. Listen, I said that the PG-13 was being removed for this show only, and we're not gonna. Again, I apologize if I offended anyone by cursing. But
I could have cursed.
You could have, Joe. Yes.
Dang it.
Yeah, I know. I was actually surprised because you usually drop an F-bomb, but listen, we'll come back to you in a hot second.
Okay.
Markman drops not one but two $5 super chat and says this: the loss of Tango is sad, but I also think that it is an overall issue with gaming. Only AAA games and or service games are doing well. Lack of variety in gaming. Great point. His second super chat, he says, Hi-Fi was a great game, and so was Sunset Overdrive. Both didn't get the proper support, in my opinion, from the gamers. I agree. Both games are phenomenal in their own right, and I love them both equally. Z Black Writer drops a very generous $5 super chat, and he goes on to say, y'all need to relax. This is good news. Tells me Bethesda is righting the ship and planning for a Fallout studio. I mean, I didn't think about that, but I just hope that it's a shame that you had to close these studios with these certain IPs that are so different from each other. And again, I know that Tango is in Japan, and I know that Leon is where they are, and this over here, the Austin office, maybe again they I don't want to say they don't have the talent. They have massive talent. I think they were asked to make a game that, like the super chat earlier in the show said, was out of their wheelhouse, and they didn't have proper support from Microsoft. That is on Xbox Game Studio leadership. That is on them for this. JJ Sane 117 drops an additional $2 super chat and says, part of me hopes GTA 6 fails. You know what? Even the game sucks, it's not going to fail. The game could come out and suck so bad that you're not going to know what to do with yourself, and people would just go line up for months to buy that game. And it's going to, it's going to break records unlike anything we've ever seen, and the game can actually suck because it has GTA, branding. And it's not going to suck. It's going to be an amazing game. We have Don Otaku drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, I can understand the business, but this still hurts. I wish they could have at least did what they did for Toys for Bob and let them go indie or sell them. That's a great point. Gamer by Choice has been a channel member for as long as the show has been around, 55 freaking months, dude. That is crazy generous of you. He says the problem is console gaming is full of gamers that are not spending as much. The more release, the more options, sales and engagement will suffer. I just hope games I like continue. Great show. We also have, we have a couple of big ones here. Chris R drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, clearly, this is a decision that was made a while ago. So what's the deal with them still putting Hi-Fi Rush on PlayStation? Microsoft being greedy? I think it's also
really weird. It is really weird.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, engagement.
Yeah, it's engagement, but dude, that's the other thing. It's going to go to Switch, and I guarantee you it's going to sell really well on Switch.
And it's like,
maybe.
Maybe. I mean, again, no guarantees. But listen, I want to read one more because it's a monster one, and then of course I'm going to bring Hargeet in, and then we'll get everyone's final opinion. Now we'll catch up on the super chats after that. Hey, Blinken drops an additional ridiculous $50 super chat. He goes on to say, Xbox killed Tango themselves. They chose to shadow drop Hi-Fi on a small show instead of the Game Awards. You don't shadow drop a digital-only game with no marketing to a small audience and expect sales. stick the bicycle spokes, stick in the bicycle spokes situation.
Yeah.
I mean,
100% agreed.
Not wrong. Oh, you know what? There's only 3 left. Let me just catch up with those, and then we'll bring Hargeet in. Apologies, folks. Maxie Coleman drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, ABK has been bought by Xbox. They may as well have replaced Phil Spencer with Bobby Kotick and be gone with it, or be done with it." Yeah, I kind of wonder if this is out of Phil's hands. Again, no excuses for Phil Spencer. He's making a lot of money. I don't make excuses for him. I'm just saying that I don't know how much power he had in this decision when the money people are involved. Alex is a Valve drops a very generous $7 super chat and says, "Honestly, at this point, who is Xbox? Is Xbox being run by Microsoft? With the new roadmap, Phil Spencer will leave, as this is not his vision." I heard that this morning. I wonder if next year Phil's like, you know what, this is not what I did my years. I'm going to retire because now I don't have any control, and that will be devastating for Microsoft and specifically for Xbox.
Real quick, Boom. If I
sure,
can, because I got to slide out of here.
Yeah, I know you got to get ahead. Get your final point, brother. Let's go. I
just wanted to drop this last bit of news, maybe because it'll probably add on to the conversation that Hargeet's probably going to drop in here. So rumor, apparently, Jeff Grubb just commented on Giant Bomb that Perfect Dark is in very bad condition. There's no context, but it seems there is a change in strategy in first-party development that he will comment on live today.
Wow,
ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate you all. Follow me everywhere.
Steel Rain, fucking dropping a bomb just to leave. Look at that.
Much love, y'all.
Steel, we'll talk to you soon, brother. Love you.
Love you, dude.
Love you. All right. So let's let me just get. Okay, so one more super chat. Zatanna Bethany drops a very generous $5 super chat. And she goes on to say, "No way Phil Dominus Maximus Aurelius Spencer wanted any of this," and I absolutely agree. Investors, Cassius and Marcus Brutus are taking the wheel. Our voice will aid Phil. Again, I don't have anything in front of me to back up what I'm about to say, but I think Hargeet will expand on it. I think that a lot of these decisions that are currently being made are out of Phil's out of his control. The money people are involved. I think that, like, I was so for ABK because of what it was going to bring to the service that I pay for monthly. I got very excited. What I might have missed out, and I think a lot of people were galvanized by the size of this deal. Once the money people took control, they were going to do what money people do, and that would be make bad decisions based on dollars and not what the people want. And I think that they're gonna find themselves in a bit of a pickle if they continue down this path. But Hargeet, let's get your hot take, man. Welcome.
Yeah, another bad day in gaming. So this is going to be a little bit more emotionally raw. I hate this whole thing. This is freaking stupid. I don't understand why it needs to happen.
Yeah, go crazy.
First, the studios, they did, like, okay, I can kind of understand Arkane. However, Phil did come out and say that he's going to support them for another game, right? He would absolutely support them for another game. So he lied and then decided to close it. Now, maybe this is out of his hand, but if it's out of his hand, then why the hell is he the head of gaming? So if that's not the case, then, like, just step down and not be the head of gaming. No, it is in his hands, and he needs to fight for what's right for his freaking division, right? So I don't buy any of that. It's his freaking decision in the end. And if this is what's happening, this is just crap. It's crap. So you either stand by your studios or you don't. Tango is just baffling to me. What the heck are they thinking? Now, here's where my real concern is. They brought 4 games over to PlayStation. One of them was Tango's game. The other ones are from Rare. So is Rare on the chopping block now? And the other 2, and this had better not freaking materialize, are from Obsidian. If Obsidian gets fucked by freaking Xbox, that is inexcusable. It's inexcusable. But that's where they are right now. And I have no freaking, I don't know where to go with this, right? So I am not going to even take that off the table because I think they will go fuck with them. I think they will kill them. And I'm just really disappointed with where this is. Now, I thought Game Pass was supposed to be profitable. I thought Game Pass was bringing in all this revenue. Game Pass was supposed to replace the problem of having to deal with sales of games. So what happened? So is that a lie? Is that what this is? Is this a lie? It's an outright lie? I mean, I see the revenue. It makes sense. You guys are touting how much you make, $1 billion a freaking quarter. So you're saying that's not enough? Well, what did you need? So at this point, you need to be far clearer about what the hell you're doing, because you are basically fucked gaming, and that's what you're doing here. This is just not acceptable. It's just not.
Yeah.
It's not acceptable. You can't just turn around and say we're gonna. Now I can take Arkane because they screwed you. I get that one. The rest of it, I don't get, especially Tango. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get this one. It's a piece of shit move that should never have happened. There's zero reason when you made $22 billion freaking dollars in profit in the last quarter, and you turn around and tell me you don't have money. No, I don't care. I don't care. It's bullshit. You have more than enough money. More than enough money. Freaking countries don't make as much as you made in profit in the last quarter. Countries don't make as much profit. It's just bullshit. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Don't tell me you can't take care of this. You could. You took $2 billion hit on your operating expense because of your integration with ABK. Sorry, that should have been Microsoft taking that hit, not freaking gaming division. Yes. Microsoft bought that for $70 billion. You need to take the hit at the central level. This is all crap. It's just crap. And this result is really disappointing. But what I'm not looking forward to is what's going to happen next. Rare and Obsidian are going to get fucked. That's what's going to happen. And I don't want to hear it. But this is where we are, because you put yourself in this position. This is not what I wanted to see. I just did not want to see this.
And like,
very stupid.
And Hargy, like, real talk, I mean, you say it and it sounds in outlandish for a second, but then you're like, no, I mean, we don't know which way's up anymore. And because like, what if Obsidian doesn't sell like Skyrim? Like, what is your goal? Like, what's the goalpost for y'all? Because you're right. Like, the day that they mess with Obsidian, and God forbid Ninja Theory, I'm gonna throw a fit.
I mean, it's just that's why we have to speak up.
Yeah, and I got a tweet from Neo GameSpark. I'm sorry, he's like aged like milk. This is an article from VGC headline: Microsoft not planning to shut down Redfall studio Arkane. Xbox says it should have done a better job supporting the Bethesda studio. That was a year ago. So it's just like, guys, I don't know what. Again, the one thing I want to say before I too have to leave, because I gotta get ready for work, but like, when we think about innovation in games, we can no longer look towards the big AAA game. Right, you can't look at a PlayStation or an Xbox or 2K, whatever. We're right now at this point where games are changing, the landscape of which is changing. What it means to be a publisher is changing. What is even an indie game? We had that discussion last year about Dave the Diver, right? What type of scoped games can be profitable for you or can change?
Joe, another one I'd like to add to for context here, and it's one of my favorite games of all time, Vampire Survivors, made by one dude, sold for $3.75 on Xbox. Right, was in Game Pass. I bought the game. I'm like, I got to give this person my money. Every time there's a DLC to buy, I buy it. Why? Because I have to. Because I want to help this developer. That is a perfect example of the little one that could. And it's 8-bit graphics, and all you do is move the stick. That's all you freaking do.
It's one of it's one of my favorite game experiences the last few years. That's what we have to look for. It's your Xbox is not your answer. Your PlayStation isn't your answer. And they have begun to realize that too. And that's why they're panicking in the ways that you're seeing them, because you're right. Hargy, again, hit it out of the park. What is it? Is it Game Pass? Is it subscriptions? Is it monthly active users? Is it box sale? What is it? Because
they're hitting on all those cylinders, though. That is what exactly the point that Hargeet is talking about. Right. Everything you just mentioned, they are profiting.
Yeah. So it's like, where's the end game for you? And what we go down towards, we always end up having this conversation of like this end game capitalism talk, which I think from today on seems like more and more the case of like, this is becoming to a point where we can't just expect to grow like infinite growth is impossible. Why can't it be
we're
about
in a recession and nobody
sustainability?
wants to admit that we're in a recession.
Yeah,
So
right.
people are
That's
spending less.
Yeah. So it's just
Sorry.
it's just like the $70 game, the $15 subscription, people have had it with both. And so to me, I just again end point, and then I gotta go. But like, it sucks. My heart goes out to all those affected. And the one thing that I would love to see more of is these board members that make these boneheaded decisions go the way of the dinosaur.
I agree.
We'll talk how many
Send them
times
to
are we gonna
Hades.
read tweets like we're not gonna how many times is Phil Spencer gonna go on a podcast going, whoops guys, until we actually go, okay, dude, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
What are you doing here?
Exactly.
Like what? Like because I see a lot of people going, it can't be Phil Spencer. He's the goddamn CEO of this fucking company.
Yeah.
Everything falls on him. What we're witnessing right now is the true, and shout out to Ains over at Cast Co-op who said this months back and it's stuck with me ever since. What we've begun to see is the corporatization of video games.
Yes. Yes,
Yes.
sir.
That's hit the
That's the
main
thing.
street.
Now at that level, right?
Because-
It's a very large industry.
And so
Because-
it's just it's all grown up now, and it's scary that it looks like.
It's scary because listen, I gotta say this real quick.
Yeah.
Please, by all means, speak away.
But as of right now, because of what happened during the 2020s, like I said, which game studio didn't go to development hell? Which did? I mean, all of them did because we were promised, like I said, these 4K boxes, which we didn't get a majority of games, right? So people are now waiting to buy those games later on. It's not a good time for you to shut down studios. It's a good time for you to reinvest, give them the next 6 years to develop. Now, if it doesn't work for the next 6 years, then we will understand what's happening. But as of right now, it's not a good time for anyone just to go out there and shut down. Yeah. It's just not.
And
you got to reinvest and see what happens.
It's scary. Well, and that's the thing. Like people, you look at an investor going 6 years. That's for how much? Like
that's
what?
How much it takes.
And again, it's like it's all grown up, and it's scary how dystopian it all looks. Like it's just not. It don't look great for the AAA games. The big AAA games. Indies, let's that we're seeing them come up and take the mantle and start doing well. But even there, it's like there are a lot of indies that get overshadowed just because there's so many games now.
There are a lot of people making
a lot
games.
Of them fail, right?
That said, y'all. A lot of them fail. That said, guys, love y'all.
So,
thank y'all for
all
letting
right,
me
brother.
vent.
We'll talk soon, Joe. Thanks so much for jumping in, brother.
Gotcha.
We'll talk soon.
Gotcha, Mr. Pavitt.
Look, again, as we close in on 2,100
I'm not done.
people here. No, Kargi, we're gonna let you continue, brother. I want to thank everyone for being here. We got a few more minutes. We're not going to end it directly at 2:00. If anyone in the panel's got to go, please, by all means, no one wants to hold you up. But I do want to let everyone get their final bars off. But Hargeet, please continue because you were making some real dynamite points.
So, okay, now I'll take it a little off of the emotional side and say, okay, what is happening in the industry, right? Because everybody's doing this bloody shit. And what is happening, okay? So a lot of it you guys just said. I missed the beginning of this whole thing because I was at a lunch with people. But the industry is now reckoning with the fact that gaming has become untenuous. Now, I've been saying this for years that I think games taking like 6 years, 7 years is just ridiculous. It needs to stop being that. 2 to 3 year development cycle is reasonable, right? And if you look at sort of the movie industry, that's kind of where they are, right? It becomes reasonable to say 2 to 3 years to make a movie, and then you're out there, right? If you go too far, the production cost becomes too much. And that's kind of where we are now, right? And people are looking for these magnificent graphics and magnificent animations, and everything has to be perfect. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. It needs to be playable and fun. That the core of gaming is the gaming. It's not about the visuals. Now that's our fault. Our generation grew up with like little pixel things moving around, and we're like, oh, it got better, and then it got better, and then it got better, and we want to see more and more and more. Thankfully, the next generation doesn't care. They're like, I just want to play a game. I don't care where the game is. It can be on an iPad. I'm fine, right? And it doesn't have to look stellar. It doesn't matter. It needs to be playable and fun. Thankfully, they get it. We don't. We're the ones asking for these things. Unfortunately, for the industry, we're not buying those anymore. And that's kind of where this is failing, right? And if we want to have these AAA magnificent games, well, the industry has to kind of reconcile the fact that they're only going to sell so many of them. And you can't have the production budget keep going up. Now, this is not something that I've come up with. Sean Layden said this a decade ago, right? Like
I made mention of Sean Layden earlier. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, this is just the way it is. If you're going to keep trying to make it better and better and better, the production budget's going to go up and up and up. Eventually the investment just isn't worth it. And that's kind of where we are now. And so you can even take Hi-Fi and say that's a AA game, not a AAA game. They may have thought of it as a AAA game though. And if that is the case, it cost them a lot and it didn't bring in enough revenue. So this is where I'm worried. If Avowed doesn't do well, is Obsidian on the chopping block? Because if it is, that's a big problem, right? So we're going to see this pervasively. And, if Rare went away, yeah, I think it's bad, but I'm not going to shed a tear because I don't really care that much about what they put out. But Obsidian, are you kidding me? Like,
I don't think they would be, because I think that Obsidian does enough for Microsoft, but you're onto something.
Pentiment and Grounded were two of the games they decided to do, right? So like half of the 4 games, it's Obsidian, and I'm just very worried about what's going to happen with Obsidian. I really hope they're not on the chopping block, right? But we can assume that nothing is sacred anymore. You could see even freaking Naughty Dog be chopped, because who knows what happens when who's the guy that does this stuff there? I can't.
Hiroki the Toki?
No. The head of
the leader of the studio.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking. Everybody knows his name. I just can't, for some reason it's escaping me. What if he said he's done after a game, right?
Yeah, he wants to go home and he's done. He's going to retire. Yeah.
So he wants to go home and take care of his kid who's growing up. He's like, I just want to be a part of it. So what happens?
Neil Druckmann. Thanks, brother.
Druckmann, for that. Yeah, totally forgot his name. But if that happens, what happens to that studio? Do they just say, we're done with this and throw it away? They could. We don't know. This is in topsy-turvy world now. We don't know, right? Nothing is sacred. Everybody's up for being chopped. And this is just a sad thing. It is what it is, but there is a reckoning. And, as you're saying, like, this industry is now very much in the Wall Street level, right? Yep. Because you've got investors all over the world saying we're going to pour billions into this. Well, then they have a lot of eyes on it as well to say, what are you giving me back for that? Right. Yeah. And this is just unfortunately where it is. And these AAA games that take a long time, people are looking for a lot of return on that. Yep. And they're not always going to
instant gratification too. They want a game
to come problem.
And they want it to hit.
And so they want Fortnite, they want Apex, they want Minecraft. They want those games because they just keep generating money. Call of Duty. Why do you think they bought ABK? It's King and Call of Duty. They want the money that just keeps generating, all the time. So, I mean, I think this is kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. From a business perspective, we can just expect more of this annoyance.
I got news
if you're looking for AAA studios to stick around. And that's sad. I thought that Game Pass was the solution. Apparently it's not, because that's not what they're showing us right now.
Well, I mean, the numbers don't lie. They're making money. They just want more money, right? They're being the corporate overlords that we all hoped that they wouldn't go back to. That's who they're showing their fangs right now.
Yeah. All of these studios, all of these everythings, who's the one that isn't having this problem? Nintendo. They just sit there and keep Nintendoing. Exactly. Nintendo just keeps Nintendoing, and they keep printing money, right? Yep. And everything's happy and hunky dory over there.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's look. Again, this
unfortunately I haven't jumped. I got a 2:00.
Yeah. We'll get you on that. Thanks so much for jumping in, brother. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon, Hargeet. All right. So let's get everyone out of here. Let me catch up on the last couple of super chats. We'll get everyone's final points. Again, we are closing in on 2,100 people. That's the most we've ever had on this channel. That is live viewers, both from Twitter and, of course, from YouTube. I cannot thank you folks enough for being here, taking the time to hear us be emotional. And I think a lot of us made some really great points. Shout out to everyone that was a part of today's panel. I Steal Rain, Mr. Bad Bit, of course, and Hargeet Chani. We also have, obviously, we'll get everyone out of here with proper outros. But again, if you're finding the channel for the first time, I humbly request that you consider subscribing to the channel. This is a topic that we're going to cover tomorrow. I'm going to see if I can build a bigger panel other than me and C Money, get our opinions on this. It's going to be a very pointed, very emotional, because we're going to get some blowback from what Grubb is going to be saying on his show later on today, which I'll be tuning into. The Perfect Dark news is very sad if it's true. And we're gonna be breaking that down again. Not all gloom and doom, folks. I'm still excited as an Xbox fan. The future is incredibly bright, but today sucks like so bad. I don't even know what to say. But let me again just catch up on the last couple of super chats that have popped in here. We have Highlander. Okay. Maxi Coleman drops an additional $5 super chat and says, "Oh my God, I wrote it backwards. I meant Xbox has been bought by ABK." That you might be onto something there, Maxi. Thanks so much for being a part of the show. Highlander 001 drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "Phil has to go. It's mismanagement from the top." I mean, I don't know if Phil's got to go. I think Phil has lost control, if I may be so blunt. Zach Riley, who's been a channel member for 2 months. Zach, thanks so much for being here, brother. Thank you for the support. He goes, "In addition to that awfully worded controller announcement, the nerve of them to include Hi-Fi Rush in the humble choice for May with today's news shaking my head." Yeah, I don't know. Again, lost for words, folks. Lost for words. Angel Ramos, welcome to the program, Angel, and thanks so much for being here. He drops a very generous $2 super chat and goes on to say, "At this point, I trust Embracer more than Microsoft." I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's today's a very sad day in gaming, especially if you're an Xbox fan. I think this is a real ugly black eye for Microsoft and specifically for the Xbox platform. I don't know how you close a total of 4 studios, you shutter 3 of them, and you kind of just merge another one into another. And like, yeah, guys, go over there, and think you're going to be, people are going to forget about it. You got Hellblade coming out in 2 weeks. You got 2 weeks after that, the showcase, and this is just ugly. It's stupid. It's just stupid timing. And honestly, I agree with Hargeet Chani. They don't need to close these studios. They were making money hand over fist. It's just disgusting, in my opinion. BT Maverick 707 drops a very generous $5 super chat. He says, "I know it's not entirely her fault, but look at everything that they've thrown in front of Sarah Bond. Since she's taking over Xbox, it's just just this year alone. I mean, yeah, she's the president. She was given a big job, and I don't think any of this is her fault. I think that this is just the money people, and it's gross. But any final thoughts, Jamie Moran, before we get you out of here and do your outros?
Yeah, I think it's a weird situation because all we can really do, all everyone's done today is speculate because we don't know anything unless we're a fly on the wall when all these meetings take place. We know diddly squat. I will say this though, like it's crap what's going on. But I was just looking at Bethesda's website, and before Microsoft picked them up, they were looking to be sold, and I think everyone knows that by now. But for a few years, Bethesda had this weird few years where they were putting out these. They kind of shifted from single player to multiplayer live service focus. So Wolfenstein, great game. The sequel, New Colossus, phenomenal game. People need to play it. And then they came out with this co-op live service Destiny-ish. Yeah, awful game.
Terrible.
Bloody awful. And people were wondering why did that happen? And then we got Fallout 76 and people were impressed by the map size, and then it's a live service. But before Microsoft bought them, they put a subscription service built into Fallout 76. And the fan base lost the marbles, rightly so, because it was expensive and you weren't really getting much in return. And they pivoted so much towards live service. They actually came out with a campaign, a marketing campaign called Save Player One, and they had a bunch of celebrities talk about how single player is important. They actually had Linda Carter talking about how Bethesda's all about single player experiences. But if you look at Bethesda's games, like I love Bethesda, I love the games they put out, but their games, unless it's called Elder Scrolls or Fallout, it just does not sell. It just doesn't. Prey came out in, I think, 2016 or something, 2017. Phenomenal game, didn't sell. Hi-Fi Rush. Like I've been following the whole Sea of Thieves thing on PlayStation. That sold really well. I haven't heard a peep about the PlayStation version. Like it's selling well at all. Dishonored, people love Dishonored. It's a beloved franchise, but it didn't sell well. The Evil Within, people always talk about that franchise online and how it's up there with Resident Evil, and it could potentially in the future, well, not now, be up there with Resident Evil, but it just didn't sell well. And there's something with Bethesda games that just don't sell unless it's called Fallout or Elder Scrolls. And like even this past few weeks, we've seen like these ancient Fallout games pop off like online. Fallout 4 is the #1 game across Europe, across multiple platforms, including Amazon, which is crazy because that game came out in 2015. That's a 9-year-old game. And like these decisions are always by the bean counters, right? I don't think this is a Phil Spencer thing. I think this is it's a corporate thing. It's up top because like Phil Spencer, he's in charge of gaming at Xbox, but these choices, like shutting down studios like that, it just doesn't make sense from Phil's point of view. And like even last year, he was on about how like Redfall studio isn't going to shut down because of like how Redfall performed, and like it was Microsoft's fault for not stepping in and helping with Redfall and maybe delaying it and giving it the love it needed. But I mean, it's just a sucky situation, man. I will say this though, I'm not the doom and gloom type. You know me, Boom. I'm not. I think hopefully the developers will get back on their feet. I think everything will be fine. I've people talking about how like Obsidian's going to get laid off. I don't subscribe to any of that. It's just I don't think that's ever going to happen. Everything's going to be fine. It's just this one of these reactionary things. I will say this though before you continue, Boom. The reactions to studio closures is acted upon completely different depending on who closes them. Jeff Keighley never once talked about studios shut down by Sony late last year and early this year.
No,
not
he
once.
didn't.
Yeah, he was quick enough today to tweet about Microsoft's. And like, let me get this list here quick. So Sony shut down Deviation Games. They shut down Firesprite Studios, Japan Studio, Pixel Opus, whatever that's called, London Studio, and like that's a lot of studios and that's a lot of games cancelled, and it's not good. Like Embrace has shut down studios left and right. It's not a Microsoft problem. It's not a Sony
it's an
problem.
industry problem.
It's an industry problem. These games' budgets have ballooned to hundreds of millions of dollars. The marketing campaigns sometimes have to exceed the development cost itself. You have like Square Enix like selling like 5 million copies of a game and not saying it's enough. It's the industry changing, and it's scary, and something has to change. It's one of the reasons why I always talk about these AA games and these really interesting AA studios. I think people need to pay attention to because they're actually putting risky games out there. They're putting out original content. Like we got a RoboCop game last year by a AA studio, and it was amazing, and nobody talked about it, and it sold like 300,000 copies, when in my opinion it should have sold like 10 million. But it's just the industry. It's a bad situation.
Yeah,
that's all I'll say.
Good stuff, brother. Umbra, are you there, kind sir?
I think I was sleeping for a while.
He probably is falling asleep because remember he was barely awake when he jumped on. He works midnights, folks, so he was just coming out of work. Crazy Lou Gaming. First of all, before we get to you, Crazy, Jamie, just sell your brand real quick. Where can people find you on social media? Potentially strike up a conversation, and more importantly, reach out. Sub to your YouTube channel.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, Boom. It's always great to talk to everyone. But yeah, my YouTube channel is The Elusive Gamer. It's specifically Xbox content. I have a podcast on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern called All Things Xbox Podcast. As you can guess, it's Xbox centric. Tonight we'll be talking about Splinter Cell, some Fable stuff which hasn't been talked about, and obviously the stuff that's going on. But I don't do that doom and gloom stuff. So if people want to subscribe, it's always appreciated. Trying to hit 10,000 subscribers this year. My Twitter is Jamie Man UK, where I keep it to gaming news and jokes and stuff.
Yeah, and you do. You have a great time over there. Follow obviously all Jamie stuff's in the show notes. Double click, you get there, you sub, and if you're feeling generous, hit the bell icon so you know every time he goes live with his show. Louis, we'll get you out of here in a hot second, brother, but give your final point and then obviously tell everyone where they can check out the Xbox International podcast, and more importantly, where can people see you doing some crazy things on social media?
Oh man, Mr. BoomStick, thank you for having me on here again, man. It was a lot of fun, even though it was what a crazy day it's been today, man. Especially for me this morning on the channel. My God, that was just slapped me right in the face, man. Just slapped me in the face. Where can you find the crazy one? Simple and easy. You can find me on Twitter X at Crazy Louis Gaming. You can also find me on mornings at Good Morning with Crazy Louis over there, the Xbox International Podcast YouTube channel, which I'm going to drop the link below, and also on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. ET, hanging out with Silent Cypher, Sourblow, and the Big Boom, and sometimes on Friday over there, the Xbox International Podcast in Espanol, if you guys speak Spanish. I'm dropping the link here in the chat. Go ahead and subscribe.
Thanks so much. And Umbra, before we do the we roll the outros, are you there, sir, or are you sleeping? Because he might be sleeping, folks. This happened before. Again, he works midnights. He's not being rude. It's just that the Sandman had gotten him. He sounded like he was barely hanging on. So, Umbra, I'll do his outros for him. Obviously, he runs a show on Thursdays called The Fix with Daniel McGee. And it's a great show. It is a show that talks about wrestling and anime. But, of course, mainly they talk about video games. And obviously, all of his information will be in the show notes, so you can go and subscribe to The Fix to help that channel grow. And obviously, it's a great program with him and Daniel that they do each and every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, for me, for Double Barrel Gaming, a big record-breaking day of over 2,100 people live watching, which is just crazy to have that many. Again, this is still a very small channel. We're on the hunt for 15K. A big thank you to the unbelievable amount of super chats that have come in. Actually, 2 more have popped in here. Gamer by Choice says this after dropping a very generous $5 super chat. I understand the business and the fandom of the news today. It sucks to close studios, but we got to hope strategy improves future of Xbox gaming. Yeah, and it's going to be hard to come back from this. Again, the studios as a whole suck that the 4 of them are gone, but Tango Gameworks, I think, hurts the worst. I mean, that studio is so talented and has so many amazing IPs that we're not going to get sequels to, which sucks. Michael Mooney drops a very generous £5 super chat, and he says, I thought Tango gave Xbox a foot in the door in Japan. Well, I guess they took the foot out the door because they didn't like what who's coming through. I don't know. That's a bad move. It is a bad precedence, and it just looks ugly. It's just an ugly, ugly move for what Xbox is trying to do in that region of the world. And again, a big thank you to so many super chats, so many channel members, and a couple of new channel members as well. Thank you for supporting Double Barrel Gaming. And again, if you liked what you saw and you heard today, it was all honest. Again, apologies for anyone that was offended by a few F-bombs that I dropped, but that's just me being emotional. Normally, this is a PG-13 show. I abbreviate everything, but today I was like, well, you know what? This sucks, so I'm going to go like Steel Rain live, raw, and uncut. And of course, I'm going to close out today's show with something that's incredibly important to me, folks. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you, and that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you, you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast.